Hey, there's Blaine Feller. I used to think that Thursday was the best day of the week, but now it's Tuesday.
Oh, it's Tuesday.
Now it's Tuesday because the wise guys are back on. Dave McCann, Blaine Fowler.
Is it Tuesday days or Tuesday night?
Tuesday night, because after this show, then it's Wednesday, and it's practically the weekend.
That's a great
You
point.
get through Tuesday. Tuesday's the day.
I like your attitude. And Tuesday day doesn't really throw me that much typically, but I get to 4 o'clock and I'm like, it's on.
It's starting.
Like it's a 2-hour countdown and it's on. So
we welcome everybody, and we encourage you to let us know where you're streaming from, and those watching at ysguys.com. It's great to have you there. If you hit that little purple Twitch button at the bottom of the screen, you can get a free Twitch account, and then that allows you to get on here and ask Blaine some questions about his guns or any other topic.
I like that
Medward's
already on here, and he says that I'm Doc Blaine, meaning I'm some type of a doctor of football, and you're General Dave. Does that mean that Dave's in charge? Whatever, they seem like complimentary handles that he's given to us, so I'm pretty happy about that.
I think those are nice. Those are nice.
Bill Riley always calls me Dr. Fowler because when I used to be on his show every Friday during the old days on ESPN, I was always coming from the operating room from my other job, and he'd go, "Hey, Dr. Fowler, how'd it go in the operating room today?" And then lots of people in the community would come up to me and say, "Well, now what type of a doctor are you?" And I had to explain that I really wasn't a doctor, that Bill just called me that, and I just played one on the radio.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's been a great week. It's finally hot. You know, it's like 104.
It's 100 when I drove up here.
I always thought since football season kind of rules the calendar, when all those years I was working in Vegas and everyone's like, oh, it's going to be 115. I just kind of go, it has to get to 115 before football can come. So the sooner we get there, for the most part, psychologically, even though football season, it was still 108.
Yeah,
but
it
was September, and I always said if the air conditioning is working good enough, it'll feel like football season whenever you want it to.
And a lot of people don't know that you and I used to do the UNLV package together.
Yeah.
So Dave and I
We've called a lot of defeats.
I just was thinking Perk Weisenberg.
Yeah.
Like he coordinated that UNLV television
Bill Townsend
package.
before then.
Associate UNLV, and those guys, Associate AD down at UNLV.
Yeah.
And they put us to work down there, and you and I did the UNLV package together, football and basketball. It was fun.
There were some good times. There was an experience, and then we'll run down the tease of our show, and we got a great lineup tonight. But I learned the power of a sideline pass when I went to UNLV's Tennessee game in Knoxville. You were not in that assignment. You came on the next one.
Which was Hawaii, by the way, so that was better.
Yeah, that was better. Anyway, we get to Neyland Stadium, and we do our stuff the day before the game, and we're starving to death. Across from the stadium is Cahoon's Ribs, and it's on the river, on the Tennessee River. And everyone said, you got to go there and eat. It's the best. So we get over there, and they just closed.
Oh.
So we're back out in the car. We don't know where to go in Tennessee. We're starving to death. And then Bill Townsend, he was in charge of us. He goes, just a second. And he goes back in to the restaurant, comes back out. He goes, let's go, guys. You're going to feed us. And we're like, what? And we get in there, and they bring us anything and everything. And we ate for as long as we could, and we left. And suddenly the guys who had said they couldn't help us were our best friends. And then the next day, at the football game between UNLV and Tennessee, I look over, and there's the manager and there's the cook with sideline passes.
There you go.
On the field. And I go, that's how that restaurant opened back up. And that's why they let us eat on the house. And that's when I go, you know what? This Tennessee football must be pretty big. Yeah. Because those two guys are having the night of their life after saving us.
And for those guys to be able to be on the sidelines at a Tennessee game in that stadium is pretty amazing, really, if you think about it. That's a phenomenal experience down there. And being on the sideline, when you can watch a game from the stands, but go if you ever have an opportunity to be on the sideline at a Division I P5 level football game, it's almost scary how big the players are, how fast they are, how violent the game is, those collisions out there. I get down there now, and I look and I go, like, what was I even thinking? It scares the heck out of me now. For some reason, when I thought I was invincible, it was okay. But as I've aged and I get down there, I think, man, this is a big, fast, violent game down here. And then when that crowd roars, if you're in the stands, you hear it and you feel it.
Yeah.
When you're down there on the field and all of that is centered down towards you, it's amazing what that feels like down on the field. It's pretty cool.
David Nixon's going to join us later tonight in the show. We're going to ask him who hit him the hardest in the NFL,
yes,
and who he hit the hardest in the NFL, and a bunch of stuff about BYU's linebackers. Here's the lineup for tonight. The college football expansion situation, the latest on the future of the Pac-12 and the Big 12. That's right out of the gate. Name, image, and likeness. You've heard NIL. How does it work from the perspective of the business? Scott Warner, the CEO of Gig, is with us tonight. He's going to show us how it works, and then we'll also have a cold cereal debate. He's a connoisseur of cereal, especially on his social media, and so that's coming up. What else ahead?
Well, we've got, ESPN has their FPI that they put out every year where they go down each team's schedule and they give you a percentage chance of winning based on their FPI formula. And we're going to go through that because we can add it up and we can tell you how many games ESPN, based on their FPI, are predicting BYU will win.
And we don't like it. Be honest with you. We don't like it.
Hey, nobody on this show is going to like it because it's less than we're all thinking. I'll tell you that. Yeah. But we're going to get to that.
Big 12 Media Days, that starts tomorrow morning, what the preseason poll looks like. And then I'm going to ask you where you think BYU would rank in that preseason poll if they were in the conference this year.
And you told me we were going to talk about this, so I've already been thinking about that.
Good.
And then we're going to cap this whole thing off in our second hour. We're going to have our good friend, our buddy Dave Nixon, who works with us at BYU TV, does After Further Review and Countdown to Kickoff and Post-Game Live with us, who also happens to be a former big-time linebacker, not only for BYU, but also in the National Football League. And then he's got a little side kind of fame because his brother-in-law is Taysom Hill.
Yeah, and we're going to ask him, we may ask him a couple questions like, hey, how's Taysom feeling?
Yeah.
I saw Daniel Sorensen today over at the golf course. He's got 2 weeks before he reports to the Saints.
We've been seeing a lot of the guys over kind of getting their last rites of summer, playing some golf.
Getting their last bogeys
ran into
in.
Danny. We ran into Christian or into Britton Covey.
Yeah, we saw him
you and I
there
ran into Britton, talked to Britt for a little bit. We know he's a Ute, but he's really, Britton's
His
really.
family is.
He's a cougar at heart. Yeah. Like, come on. And he's really good buddies with my youngest son, Gavin. So we asked him about what's going on with him. All these guys are getting their last little golf and swimming and family time in because camp's starting in just a couple weeks.
How about the countdowns? 14 days until the season premiere of BYU TV's After Further Review. We're going to hit the air at 7 Eastern, 5 Mountain on Tuesday, July 26th with an hour-long special Tyler Algier Run into History. Watch it on the BYU TV app right before an all-new Wise Guys at wiseguys.com. And let us know what you think on the live stream. We'll tackle your questions. Tyler Algier night. 14 days from right now. It's getting closer.
Well, we got 22 days until the team reports for fall camp. August 3rd is reporting day. And just like the pros, those guys are getting their last things in, going on rafting trips, playing some golf, doing all that, because they know that life changes as they know it on August 3rd when they report to camp.
53 days until the season opener at South Florida. A while back it was 100 days, so now it's 53. We're trending in the right direction.
That's awesome, and I can't wait for that. And it's revenge time in South Florida. 60 days until the home opener. Baylor is coming into Provo, and the Bears and the Cougs are going to go at it. Who can win in a fight, a bear or a cougar?
I think the bear.
In nature.
I think the bear wins. No one messes with bears.
It depends on the bear, though.
Yeah,
right?
like if it's a cub, I'd go with the cougar.
What if it's just a regular old black bear that just eats berries and stuff, and it's a big old mountain cougar?
Well, if the mountain cougar's bigger, then yeah. But I think those bears hold their own.
Yeah, if it's a Kodiak or a grizzly, no chance for the cougar.
NFL countdown's just 6 days until the Raiders and Bills open training camp. 6 days.
Can't even believe that. And we always mention when the Raiders are opening because a few of BYU's guys down there, including Matt Bushman. 7 days until Tyler Algier reports to Falcons camp.
That's basically here.
Yeah, and we're going to feature him, as you mentioned, in AFR.
14 days until Taysom Hill and Zach Wilson report to the Saints and Jets camps, respectively. How many positions do you think Taysom's going to play this fall?
Remember the coach came out and said he's primarily going to play tight end.
Yeah.
I call bullcrap timeout on that one because that's
then
not
he came
happening.
back later and he goes, I think he's going to play every position.
That's not happening. I immediately called a bullcrap timeout on that. Yeah. I'm like, come on. Let's be real here.
And it's the new coach, too. I don't even know if he knows everything Taysom can do, But we're going to ask David Nixon how the Liz Frank thing's going for Taysom and where he's going to be.
He's been through that before and healed up on the other foot, so we expect him to be back in full health because he knows how to do that. So 23 days until the Jags and the Raiders kick off the preseason on August 4th on NBC. So once that, I feel like that's the watershed mark in all of this.
Once you see that, you see football right through the Super Bowl.
Once the game comes, it's awesome.
It's coming.
And it's on.
I know it's dang hot just about everywhere, but it's coming. And it's still hot when football gets here, but we call it fall camp even though it's August. But it feels better.
I know.
The world just feels better.
It does. It absolutely does.
College football realignment update. You know, things are kind of quiet after a crazy week or so, but Alabama's Nick Saban said today he thinks these mega conferences are here to stay.
Yeah, and it's interesting because he says that right on the heels of the SEC kind of, you know, in multiple reports formally saying, hey, we're happy with 16.
Yeah.
So kind of denying these reports that perhaps Clemson and Florida State in particular are on their radar. And remember, the Big Ten came out and said, hey, we're okay with 16 in the Big 10, 16, whatever we call it now. The Big.
Yeah. They had to rename it something.
Whatever. We're okay with that.
So then that means
because they were talking about Oregon
and Washington. Or maybe Oregon and Washington were talking about that.
Right. Well, and then here's the interesting thing. They even came right out and multiple sources saying until Notre Dame maybe rethinks what they're thinking, which tells us that Notre Dame's saying we're cool with our own contract.
I think they are cool with
we
their
like
own
independence.
Thing.
We control what we do. Yeah. We can control our schedule. You think about it, does Notre Dame want to go into the Big Ten?
With 20 other teams?
And in that league, not going to dominate. I don't care if you're Notre Dame, right? And they control their schedule now. They play enough big schools in their schedule to be ranked up in the top 5, sometimes in the top 4, and to be in a playoff, to be in a New Year's Six bowl every year. But they play all the services. They play enough games that they have some breathers. There's no breaks in that Big Ten, or the way it's going to exist. I
think as long as the Big Ten and the SEC and the Big 12 and the ACC say to Notre Dame, oh, we'll let you into the, you win 10 games or whatever, we'll let you into the playoff mix. They will stay outside and play on Saturday afternoons on NBC and be just fine.
Right.
The day they're cut out of that is the day they'll go, we got to get out of the ACC and this and that. But why? What's the motivation?
Yeah. And so it's just really interesting to me. And if the Big Ten's saying we're going to wait to see what Notre Dame does, because if Notre Dame comes, then maybe we take the biggest marquee name left in the Pac-12, which would be Oregon. Then what happens to Washington? Because they don't need an odd number of teams.
I don't think they want Oregon.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. And then the question is, if the Pac-12 has just lost UCLA and USC, did they just try to survive as the Pac-10? And we'll get into this a little bit more. If I'm the Big 12, I go hard after them right now.
Yeah.
Especially on the
heels.
You
go for the dagger?
I go for 16 teams in the Big 12 right now.
So you'd take who?
Well, I want Utah in the same league as BYU.
Yeah, I do too.
So if I chose who we'd take into the Big 12, I would take Washington, Oregon, Utah, and Arizona State.
Yeah.
Because do I really need Arizona State and Arizona? Now, they may not come without one another, but I don't need them both.
No.
I need Arizona State.
I mean, it's all football driven, but you got to look at, hey, we had Arizona in basketball to the toughest league already.
True.
Maybe
which they're a perennial top 10 basketball.
Colorado brings nothing.
Nothing. So I don't want
Utah only brings football and gymnastics.
This whole idea that Utah and Colorado are a rivalry is nonsense.
Yeah.
That's a made-up thing.
It's always been made up.
That exists in somebody's mind at the Pac-12. That is not a rivalry. I'm sorry. And so you don't need Colorado. You need Utah. They're the marquee team, really the best team left. They're the best team in the Pac-12 last year.
Yeah, not historically, but current.
Right.
Yeah.
Oregon, I think, is the biggest name left. And they have a lot of cachet with that. They've got Phil Knight with them. They got, that. And they're a national brand. And Washington's had, they weren't good last year since Coach Pete left. It's been tough. But I would say if you're going to cherry pick, then why not take Washington and get that Seattle market? They have a chance to be good most years if they got the right coach. Yeah. You take Oregon because of the national brand. You take Utah because they've been the best program in the last couple years, and it's a great natural rivalry for BYU. And you take Arizona State because they're the best of the rest. And they're also probably the most visible and widely recognized. That's what I would do. I would take those 4 and I'd go to 16. Nobody's talking about those 4 though.
No. And if Washington and Oregon start leaning toward the Big 12, there's going to be panic through the land of the Pac-10, and they're all going to want to come. Like Arizona will be like, please do not leave us to the Mountain West. Even Utah will be like, we think we're better than we are, but all of a sudden we might not have anything. So if Washington and Oregon are looking to the Big 12, we have to beat in the Big 12.
Right. And then if you're the Big 12 and everybody's scrambling, do you just say, okay, let's just bite the bullet and go to 20? Because eventually...
The thing is, you got to share all that money.
Yeah, because they don't bring the revenue, why do you do it?
Yeah, why would you bring Colorado? What do they bring?
Yeah.
They bring the Denver Broncos.
Agreed.
You know? And in Utah, you can ask, well, what does Utah bring if BYU, if you're just looking at geographic stuff, BYU already brings the state.
Right.
So do we pay them $45 million for what? Right. Arizona State. Okay, well, Phoenix, that's a big city. Do we want that? Do we pay both? Why don't we just? I mean, Tucson's way down there, but do we just go after Arizona State? Because why would we pay both $50 million?
That's exactly my point. That's why I would cherry pick and take those four. But nobody's talking about those four because everybody's still, until just the last day or two, has been talking about Washington and Oregon still wanting to be in the Big 12, in the Big 10.
What do you think the Big 12 commissioner is going to say tomorrow morning in his opening remarks to the media? Is he going to say, let me tell you, I just invited 4 more teams? Or is he going to say, you know, we're looking at it, but we're really, really good. We have 14 teams for the next 2 seasons, and we're leaving. SEC is taking Texas and Oklahoma, and then we're solid with 12.
I think he's going to say, and he's got, I don't think he leads with it, but he knows that it's the elephant in the room that everybody wants to talk about. And I think he has to come across as proactive, where he's going to say, listen, if we don't do anything, we're in a great position. Oklahoma and Texas are in the league for the next 2 years. The teams we're adding are quality programs. We will be fine as the actual Big 12 if nothing happens, and we can survive, and we've got great, we're going to be able to negotiate great television rights deals and all of that. But we are not sitting around. Yeah. We're being very aggressive. We're having conversations all over the place. We're not opposed to expansion if it's the right teams that bring value. And so I think he's going to come right out and say that. I think that he wants to state and put it right out there that he's not going to be behind the curve. I think he's going to make people feel like, listen, if nothing happens, the 12 we have are fine. Yeah. It's a great brand, and it's the heartland of America, and we're going to play a great brand of football, and it's still going to be the best basketball conference in America. But don't for a minute think that we're sitting around doing nothing. We will be ahead of the curve, and we will be very aggressive in this if there's opportunities that make sense financially and geographically.
And the TV networks want to hear that.
Yep.
They want to hear, hey, we're going places.
Yep.
We're going to react, not be reactive.
Well, and you've seen a lot of reports where they're saying, man, the way the new Big 12 commissioner is working and getting ahead of things compared to the way the new Pac-12 commissioner's working is kind of night and day. Pac-12's kind of like, hey, let's be cautious. Let's think about this. Let's try to keep this thing together. Big 12 guy's not even supposed to be at work yet, and all he does is roll up his sleeves and say, no, let's have some conversations. If it's the right thing to do, we're gonna explore everything, and anything that makes financial sense, we're not opposed to doing.
Scott Warner's going to be sitting in that chair right next to you.
Yeah, that's why. Couple of people, and we've answered you in the live stream, but the reason that there's a 2-shot here is because our good friend Scott Warner's going to be sitting right here. That's why
the hot seat.
That's why that's the way it is.
Hey, let's let you know who's coming up on this show as Scott settles in there. Next week, the 17th governor of the state of Utah, Gary Herbert, former Orem High School quarterback, is going to be with us. David Phillips, the sports coordinating producer at BYU TV, is going to be here.
When Governor Herbert, who's our golf buddy, comes on, is this going to be like an Orem High School Love Festival, or what is this?
It's probably going to be a little bit like that.
Because when we golf, that's what it becomes. Like, it's all about Orem High.
He starts telling unverified stories.
Yes, he does.
But he gives us governor's pardons.
If you hit a bad shot, when you're playing golf with Governor Herbert, and he says that you can still give governor's pardons even after you're out of office.
Yeah, he's declared
You hit a bad shot, he will immediately pardon you and give you another shot, and it doesn't even count as a mulligan.
July 26th, Max Hall, the winningest quarterback at BYU, the MVP of the alumni games, going to be here. August 2nd, Mark Wilson, NFL first-round draft pick. August 9th, Dennis Pitta, Super Bowl champion. August 16th, Marie Osmond will be with us, and Robbie Bosco, national champion quarterback. That's a good night.
Yep, Marie's going to be the first hour, and Robbie's going to be our second hour.
Major Clark Heyman, fighter pilot from Hill Air Force Base, is going to be with us on August 23rd. He's going to tell us about the BYU Mafia and flyovers. And Caleb Chapman is going to be here with his saxophone on the 23rd.
And I got to tell you about Clark, when last year's Utah game. Does anybody remember the flyover?
Yeah.
So
I got a story about that coming out in the desert. And it's like tomorrow.
That flyover, we were on the field doing a show on the field, and it scared the crap out of me, right? I was like, how close were those guys? They almost hit the lights. And they flew up to Hill, and then they got in a car and drove down, which it took them like 10 times longer to get back down than it took them to fly over and go park those jets. Yeah. And I said to him, is there some type of a flight deck that you guys aren't allowed to go below? And he goes, yeah, there is. And I go, it seems to me like you may have violated that. And he goes, hey, no, not as far as you know.
Not as far as
you know, we didn't.
So look, I have an awesome story coming out about all that stuff. And I'll say this is all I'll say about that. And then you can read about it and we'll talk about it later.
Yes.
So they did come in low and hot for the Utah game. In the flight path was South Field, and they were in the second half of the BYU Missouri game. And wait till you hear what Jen Rockwood said.
Okay,
because they didn't know the Jets were coming. No one told them.
Oh, man.
Oh, by the way, the Jets are coming right in the middle of the game.
Oh, man.
And so her reaction tomorrow. All right, put those headphones on.
We're going to bring our...
Let's get going here.
We're so excited to have Scott on the show with us. There we go. Yeah, they're directional, but you got to be kind of.
This guy's connected with music. He's connected with business. He's connected with NIL.
See, I read his
whole barbecue.
I read his whole background, and I'm like, I have to hang out with this guy. I was like, this is.
Why is it the only way we get you to hang out with us is have you on the show?
This is my guy right here. Music is huge to me and my family. And I know that you, like, when you started Gig, it was about music promotion and all that.
That's the reason.
And then you've expanded and done a lot of things, but you love music, you love sports, you're big time involved with BYU, founder of Gig, the corporation that is involved in all of that.
Nice.
Right, there it is.
Is that even going to fit over his guns?
So I brought two larges, but Dave told me that I should probably bring a medium because you're proud of your guns.
Oh, man. He's always like,
trust me, he loves
when are you
wearing
going to stop wearing your daughter's
shirts?
So... No,
you're in good shape, man.
When you've got 27-inch biceps, there's nothing you can do.
Really nothing. That's why I keep mine smaller so I can fit in all my shirts.
That's pretty awesome.
Not the case.
That's pretty awesome, though.
If you have a question for Scott, chime in our live stream.
We're excited because Scott's an expert and been really involved in this whole NIL thing. And we've been talking about having you on for a couple of weeks because people have had so many questions about this. And I know you're passionate about it. You understand it better than most. You've been involved in it. And then David and I, we've got to get him on the show and talk about it. And we want to talk about your background, too, and all this stuff. And tell me if I'm right on this. The name originally was, like, when you're in a band or something. I used to be in a band in the old days. Like, hey, do you have a gig this weekend?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, we have a gig on Saturday night up at Lagoon. We've got this or we've got that. That's how you started that, right?
That's right. And the thing is so cool about the name and the reason I went hunting for it big time, it's a crazy story how we ended up getting the name, but the word gig has evolved. So it was like a show back in the day, but now it's used universally. It's like, what's your gig? Or what's his gig these days? Or then also the gigabyte when it comes to technology. And it's a perfect fit, man. So we love the name. The brand turned out really, really well.
When you first, was it always GIGG or was it so it was always GIGG?
It was always GIGG, and I think that just gives it a little more character. It's kind of more brandable.
There's already a question about your favorite cereal. We're going to get to that. Hang on with us.
People,
you knew that was coming.
We got a whole cereal thing coming up here in just a bit.
And then I want everyone to tell me whether we go. Should I go black with a white lettering?
Just save me one of the three shirts. That's all.
Or do I go?
This is the medium.
That's the medium.
You look good. You look good.
You might have to put that on.
I might have to.
Actually, this is the large. This is
there. You go.
So
do I go with the yellow? Do I go with the yellow? We appreciate that.
Yeah. Hey, let's dive into this. BYU Heisman Trophy winner Ty Detmer told us as a high school coach, the portal is killing the patience and development kids need so badly. The desire to play and get paid has changed the game. He sees fewer G5 schools coming to his school to recruit kids because they can go to the portal and get quick fixes. And we've talked about the portal quite a bit. Yeah. NIL is a whole nother thing.
It'll change everything.
So your company puts $250,000 into BYU's Built for Life program. Why did you do that? And then we're going to follow the process so that folks can. We've heard from the schools going, "Hey, we have an NIL program. It's great for the athletes." But how is that great for the athletes, and how is it great for your business? So you decide, I got $250,000, I want to be a part of this. What's the motivation to get in?
So let me give a little background on Gig to start, just because then it'll make more sense. So when we first started it, again, like Blaine mentioned, it was meant for the music industry and to help both mainstream artists and aspiring artists be more effective in branding themselves, getting the word out about, whether it's a new single, a new album, an upcoming tour, and so on. And so the tools that we created at Gig were meant to build brands. And it would help these artists become more aware of their target audience or demographic.
We're talking big bands.
Oh, yeah, like some of the bands, Maroon 5.
Yeah.
Imagine like tell folks some of the bands that you've worked with and some.
Yeah, we've worked with some incredible bands. It's pretty amazing. So, I mean, Imagine Dragons, Maroon 5, Bruno Mars, Carrie Underwood.
Who could AC/DC could use some help.
That's one of my favorite bands.
But Tim McGraw was just in town.
He is AC/DC. He is AC/DC.
Whatever you've done with Tim McGraw's worked out for him. He was pretty happy.
He was on his way when we worked. He was more doing us a favor than anything else. But anyway, a lot of incredible bands of all genres. And I have to ask you boys, what's your favorite genre? You always can learn so much about an individual.
DJ's just nodding his head over there.
Right, man. The genre of music
because
that people listen to.
He knows. I grew up in New York.
Okay.
Playing sports and music in New York.
Okay.
So, of course, I'm like, my main genre is hip hop.
Are you for real?
Yeah.
My man.
Isn't that like people?
No, hip hop is it's one of the most popular, if not the most popular genres. And
how does that make him your man, hip hop?
I love hip hop. Believe it or not, like what we should do is talk about the artists that you're really into. A lot of the new age hip hop artists, I'm not in love with.
Listen, you get into his art, it's a whole nother show. It's a whole nother show.
I'm kind of eclectic, but like I always feel like, okay, let's get to know each other. Here's my workout jams.
Oh, right? No, he did. Black Eyed Peas. Blackstreet, No Diggity, we got. I mean, that's a classic. Let's see, DJ Khaled, Earth, Wind, and Fire. These are all great. I don't know if these are necessarily hip hop, but the Flow Rider.
Right.
Genuine. There's a lot of R&B in here. Here we go, Jay-Z. Justin Bieber.
Yeah, I like the Biebs. I throw him in there.
He's getting better.
I throw him in there.
Montel Jordan.
He's got a future.
Outkast, a lot of Outkast. Usher, Van Halen, one of the greatest songs.
See, I do go to some rock and roll once in a while as a break.
Come back to your
Dua
base.
Lipa. Hey, this guy's got style. He knows what he's doing here. I'm impressed.
So it's like, and I can show you my car jams list, but it's just like when you want to get to know somebody, you sit down and you go, hey, let's look at each other's phone. I want to see your playlist.
For sure.
And you can know a lot about somebody.
You learn a lot about someone with the music they listen to. But the fact that you like AC/DC, Dave, we're best friends. I'm a huge AC/DC fan. I saw their last big show at Dodger Stadium in L.A. a couple years back.
All right, hand him that playlist.
Okay,
all right.
This is...
I like classic rock, but I'm a little all over the place. But that's my main rotation right there.
NXS. I got respect. Queen and David Bowie, Flock of Seagulls, come on. Brian Ferry, New Order. New Order is so good. I much respect. Good stuff.
Is that
good stuff?
Except
I know
for
it doesn't make me your man, but
if I read his playlist, I think he's 71 years old.
Now, with that being said about what we were doing with artists, brands and businesses wanted to be a part of it. So a lot of these bands that we were working with, big name brands wanted to be associated with a lot of the campaigns that we do. And because what Gig does is it drives, huge engagement online, a lot of social media stuff. So when then I started thinking to myself, this works for sports. So I started working with some professional athletes, did some stuff with a few of the Dodgers, then the NIL. Mm-hmm. The NIL, I had known that it was happening in just a matter of time, and was waiting for it. And I knew when it would initially be, put in place and athletes could start making money, it would be the wild, wild west. I mean, there is still so much that needs to be figured out. There's still so much that's okay that I guarantee will not be okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Over time. There's going to be regulations put on it, but right now you got to jump into it while it's hot. And so the reason that our company, to answer your question, Dave, got involved with BYU was, number one, I'm a huge BYU fan.
Right.
Number two, BYU always impresses when it comes to being forward thinking. They paved the way in so many different ways. I mean, I was sitting down with some of the head dudes over there at Cal, Cal Berkeley and the athletic department, and everyone talks about that first big deal that Built Bar did.
Oh,
it kind of
amazing.
set the stage, right? It created jealousy. It created inspiration.
And it took
created
care
questions,
of the walk-ons.
right?
It was like, well,
It was brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean,
It branded BYU as, man, in something that we think is going to be the wild, wild west where everybody's going to go nuts.
Right.
And eventually somebody like, let's say, Miami gives a quarterback $9.5 million. In that world, that's not hypothetical, by the way, just happened. But in that world, BYU leads out and does the right thing.
that's right.
And who knows what happens from here, but I feel like for Built Bar, it was great for their brand, that this is a company that does the right thing. For BYU, it was, this is a university that does the right. It doesn't matter what happens from this point forward. They let out and did the right thing. Am I wrong?
They did. They did the right thing, and I'll tell you, Built Bar, I mean, based on some of the numbers and metrics that we looked at, they probably got $15 to $20 million worth of advertising.
wow.
out of
Right.
that.
Yeah, a sports center. It was everywhere.
It was everywhere, and it set the stage in a lot of cases. But as I've spent time with different universities and some of the athletic departments, that's referenced quite a bit. I always get asked, how are you involved? Do you work with Nick Greer over there at Bill? Nick was brilliant in the move that he made with all that. But again, still so early. Yeah. We're going to see some pretty incredible things. It's going to shift a lot of how Ty in some cases is right. But at the same time, there's still opportunity there. Everyone has opportunities, and one of the things that I'm so excited, and I've been fortunate enough to spend a lot of time with these student athletes, there has never been a time in the history of college sports where athletes have a chance to build and strengthen their voice, to go and to build their brand and to create monetary or different opportunities in the business space. Not only just in college. I mean, a lot of these kids aren't going to go on to play professionally.
Most aren't.
Most aren't, right? There's a stat around. I don't know.
It's crazy.
But it's crazy, the numbers.
When my kids were little and we would do the Little League thing, and I would always tell the parents, chances are none of my kids or your kids included are ever going to play Division I football, and even fewer, like it's less than 1%, are ever going to play in a professional sport. So why don't we just learn the sport and have a good time,
that's
right?
That's right.
Why not enjoy it and have a good time? But it's very few are going to make it. But some of these ones that are coming through the college program now, even good players don't make it in the NFL or in the NBA.
Yeah.
But they have an opportunity now to maybe set themselves up to have some residual income moving forward because of their time at the university representing the university, right?
That's absolutely right. And you know what? What I think is going to be what people are going to figure out quickly, and I'm talking about businesses and brands, you don't have to go and align with, in terms of BYU, a Jaron Hall. Jaron's decent at social media. Mm-hmm. There's actually a lot better when it comes to athlete, right? Yeah. But Jaron is, he's well known. He's the quarterback at BYU. But I'm telling you, there are some incredible content creators inside of all BYU sports that are just as powerful and then some than the star athletes that everyone hears about on ESPN or whatever. And so one of our most successful campaigns was with BYU women's basketball.
Yes,
those girls. Yes. They were incredible. I don't know if you guys saw the campaign.
TikTok videos.
Yeah, they were so
dancing,
good.
And they were so good.
Those girls were a crack up, and I'll tell you what, they did the quickest promo video. They were just, it's like they're pro actresses. They all just knew exactly what we were doing. Don't get me talking about some of the linebackers at BYU. They might. Max Tooley, we love you, bro.
We'll deal with that later.
Yeah, I thought Chaz was going to knock Max Tooley out because Max could not remember his lines, man. We were having so much fun. But what I'm getting at is the NIL space is wide open, and to all athletes, calling all athletes everywhere. I'm talking from when you first start using social media, and I have thoughts on that. I think 16 years old is when kids should get into social media, and even then it's a dangerous time. Right. However, athletes, build your brand. You need to have your face and name on all four of the big ones, all the four big ones: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You need to be there. Align all your social handles. Make sure that they're all consistent. That is a huge, huge deal for you as you build your brand. And get yourself out there. And you are more than just an athlete. You are more than just an athlete. So tell the world who you are. Bring some good out there. Tell your story. It's funny, Dave, you might be able to answer some of these things because we're back and forth. We banter all the time about it's already asked, the question's been asked. But I like to teach, influencers, celebrities, business owners, athletes, NIL. There are 5 things that represent you to the core. 5 things. We already know that you're great on TV and sport. You guys know your stuff. Like, we know that you guys are great when it comes to understanding sports, and you're great in front of a camera. You got rock star voices. But what else do you got? What else do you represent outside of what everyone knows, Blaine, right? We already know, Blaine, what you got as far as this situation. But what else do you have to offer the world? So I remember I was talking to Austin Colley. He was in my office. Austin, what's up, man? Anyway, I'm going to use you as an example, so forgive me if
Oh, by the way, Austin, I'm going to text you after the show because we need you to come on the show. But there you go.
Austin, you should come on the show with these guys. but Austin, you look at his social media, he's a football player, right? He's got awesome stuff. He's a stinking San Francisco Giants fan, so we won't go there. Oh, but
that's a shame.
But when Austin and I were talking, I was looking at his social media, and he doesn't really care to dive heavily into social media, but he's a football player, and everyone knows it.
Yeah.
It's a different day and age. With the NIL space, you want to make an effort to share who it is that you are. We already know you're an athlete, but what else do you have to offer? Do you enjoy fashion? Okay. Do you like cereal? What's your guilty pleasure? Ice cream on the couch and your sweats at night. Are you a movie buff? Do you like travel? Are you a foodie? Do you like to cook? Are you a chef? What else do you have to offer the world outside of what everyone knows you to be? Yeah. Everyone knows that Russell Westbrook is a fashionista. And a lot of the deals that he gets is based on the fact that he is a fashionista and how he approaches social media. And so, I'm an entrepreneur, and because I started talking about the cereal I eat before bed every night, I get truckloads of cereal sent to me.
We're going to go
I
there.
don't get any trucks sent to me. I have to go get mine.
Yeah.
Hey,
but we're going to work on that.
You need to coach us up because this is all we do. And we don't know how to do this stuff. But this is what his company does.
When Gig buys in to BYU, what do you get?
So the truth of the matter is I think that we didn't really know what we were going to get, but we knew we were focused on figuring out what we were going to get. I guess I worked with a lot of the guys over there, and they were great. And still, we're all learning, right? I think what it did was they opened the Rolodex to all the athletes. And the truth is I had connections with most of the athletes anyways, but regardless,
But they say you can contact anybody.
Yeah, I mean, they would open the Rolodex in the event that I wanted to reach out to anyone. Okay. I think what it did do for me is businesses started seeing some of these campaigns that we were running because BYU was pushing it out there. And some of the relationships that BYU has with different, corporate sponsors and so on would reach out and look for, ways to capitalize on their working relationship with BYU, and knew that Gig. We provide tools to help, create more value in partnerships between school and corporate sponsor or athlete and sponsor. Our tools help reach millions of people. We just finished a global campaign with Imagine Dragons, or Bethany Hamilton was most recent. Bethany Hamilton, she's the Soul Surfer girl that lost her arm, to a shark. But she ran a campaign on Gig, letting people from all over the world share a one-arm talent. So the invite that she extended was, hey, I've had to learn to do a lot of things on my own, and I have talents, one arm. I want to see your talents. So Spry Gum or Clear, they're focused on videos that make you smile. So Bethany Hamilton sends out a call to action to all her fans. She's got millions and millions of followers to share a one-arm video of their talent. And so all this content that's coming in, Bethany benefits from, and Spry Gum. So videos that make you smile. So we were able to get Bethany paid a hefty check, and Spry got huge reach, millions. Yeah. So now you think in terms of Bethany Hamilton, she's Bethany Hamilton, but then you got Peyton Wilgar.
Right, take Peyton.
Right,
and what everybody knows he's a football player, right. But what you're going to do with what you do with Peyton is you help him. If I'm understanding this right, to show all these different aspects of Peyton that people don't know.
Yes.
And it creates interest in him, and it creates a
That's
following.
right.
You help him grow his social media.
That's right.
And from that, at some point, he can either get a sponsor or he can monetize
That's right.
that. He can do, so all of a sudden, he has a revenue stream or an income stream.
That's right.
Because people are so interested
That's
in
right.
who Peyton is. They want to hang with him on social
And
media.
Gig then has Peyton's face.
We have Peyton's face, and we also have his reach and following.
Right.
So the beauty for us and what we're focused on the data and understanding customers and fans. I mean, guys, we with these different BYU campaigns that we've run about 15 over the course of the time, since we started Gig. We have over 500,000 emails to BYU fans globally.
Wow.
What is that? What's the value?
Yeah,
of
what
that?
is the value of that?
Right?
Right.
Well, we're working on. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this, so forgive me if I'm talking too fast about this, Gary.
Hey, Gary.
I'm sorry.
Hang with us, Gary.
Yeah, but we're working on a bobblehead deal, right? And with some of the boys that play on the team currently, and then with some of the legacy players, and we can send an email out, right, to all these BYU fans and invite them to buy one of these bobbleheads. And guess what? These boys that are out on the field right now, they're going to take a cut.
Yeah, and they should, right?
They should.
So when we talk about NIL, the thing that always comes to me, Scott, is I think, oh man, was Jimmerford ever too early?
Oh,
because I can't even imagine what Jimmer could have done in terms of monetizing all the NIL deals.
Millions. Jimmer, bro, you would have made $10 to $20 million your senior year. I'm not kidding.
I called a lot of the games. That year I was on the NBC contract, and so I was doing the Mountain West Game of the Week.
Yeah.
And did the championship with he and Kawhi. It was like, and I've been doing this a long time, it was like covering a rock star.
Oh, for sure.
That
San Diego State game.
Oh, yeah.
That
my
night.
gosh. We're down doing interviews, and the security are holding people off, and I'm like, am I traveling with the Beatles? Like, what is going on?
Oh, man.
It was nuts. And now
Wasn't that fun?
I look in the rearview mirror. One of the most fun years of broadcasting I've ever had. Dave and I covered him a bunch that year as well at BYU TV.
Yeah.
And I look at it and I think, NIL, Jimmer, oh my goodness, right?
Right.
10 to 20 million, Scott's saying.
So a kid comes in, is going to hook up with you.
Yes.
Who determines how much they get paid?
Great question.
And who pays them? Does BYU pay them through their NIL office?
No.
Or is it just...
BYU has to stay out of it.
Okay.
So most schools, pretty much all schools, they cannot facilitate deals. So a lot of times they're going to use, third parties. There's all sorts of third party companies. I mean, locally there's Encore. What's the other one called? Carl runs it. Stud with Wallaroo. My buddy Brandon over at Wallaroo. Gosh, I'm sorry guys, I can't remember. Ohana.
Oh yeah.
Ohana X. Then there's global one, or excuse me, not global, but national ones. There's Influencer, and then there's, there's a bunch of them. They're all over the place. The moral of the story is the school or the institution cannot participate in facilitating any deal or being a part of the contract. They can open doors, but they have to stand. They cannot be involved.
So you can decide how much you're going to pay somebody. So this kid who gets $9 million to go to Miami or Ohio State or wherever.
And I don't know if you followed that deal, Scott, but a quarterback. He's a high school quarterback.
Yeah.
Gets a $9.5 million deal, allegedly reported, from Miami. And his agent, so to speak, is saying, well, he turned down an $11 million deal at Florida because he liked the coaches better at Miami, making it sound like, oh, this is a football decision. Really? $9.5 million. So how did they determine that value? Because is that kid really going to bring him $9.5 million?
And what does that do to the other NIL values that you deal with all the way over here?
Again, I think, kind of reminds me of the crypto market, and, rest in peace crypto as of late, but it's going to come back. But if you look at all the hype and excitement, people are all wanting to get into it, tons of money thrown in. It's going to level out. It's going to plateau. A lot of lessons being learned. I can already tell you companies that regret some of the money they put into some of the bigger athletes out there. But at least they were willing to try and run the risk or see how it goes. The problem is a lot of these brands and businesses that are wanting to align with these athletes, they're not really sure how the working relationship is going to look. A lot of times they're like, here's a swag, wear it, or post about it on social media, or
come walk through our store.
Yeah, come walk through our store, or wear our stuff around. Yeah, that's good, but it's not what they could be doing. There's even bigger and better opportunities out there. Here's the other thing, guys. Let's talk to the athletes for a second. If you're a student athlete and let's say that you're a swimmer, okay, you are an awesome swimmer, and everyone knows you're a swimmer, so you're gonna get hit up by brands, especially if you're a big time swimmer, and you're gonna be hit up with Speedos or goggles or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But if you on social media have built a presence for yourself and you speak to you're a shoe guy or gal, right? You love shoes, or you love fashion, or you love toothpaste, a certain kind of toothpaste. I'm just throwing gum, right? These athletes that figure out that when they're posting something and they can involve a brand or speak to something, you are setting the stage for what comes next. So if you're in high school right now, start tagging. Like if I was in high school, this, Dave, I'm tagging General Mills, I'm tagging Frosted Flakes, I'm tagging Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So they keep an eye on you, and it's only going to become the case even more so. So as you're an athlete and you're making the way, making your way up to deciding on what campus which college you want to go to, businesses and brands are watching closely what you're all about. So you high school kids, you are setting the stage for what comes next. But the more that you can focus outside of the sport that you're playing
for, right?
Yeah. Like who was I talking to? Lucas. I always want to call him Lucas. You call him by the last name. Who's our basketball player?
T-John Lucas.
Yes, T-John. Bro, I apologize, T-John. I know. So we were in meet with all the basketball team, and he's like, you know what I love, you guys? I love Charmin toilet paper. I'm like, there you go. What are you gonna do? You can't post pictures, in the bathroom, whatever. What are you gonna, but what can you talk about? I mean, Charmin's probably not thinking about an NIL deal, but I'll tell you right now, they would love to be thinking about an NIL deal. They would love to latch onto an athlete that has a decent reach. That
Right.
And you're like, am I reading this wrong or interpreting this wrong? You're saying that like what you guys do is you help people run with their passions and get those passions out there, and that someone that's not as visible in their sporting business. So if you're not Luke Staley or Zach Wilson, you may have just as much value as Zach Wilson if you have other things that you're really interested in that are unique.
That's right.
And that people are going to go, oh, that's a really cool thing. That's really cool that they're interested in that. I mean, we see it all the time. We have lots of influencers right here in the Valley that aren't big time athletes that have 3 million followers on Instagram and are monetizing all that. And so you help these athletes figure out what they're passionate about, how to go down multiple roads so that they can brand themselves, and they're not just an athlete. They have this social media presence, and then they can monetize that and get cash
That's
back.
right.
That's exactly what you guys do, right?
That is what we do. So another story, Caleb Lohner, we did a competition with him, and it was a wakeboarding highlight competition. So Caleb gets on, and he says, hey, guys, I want to see your water tricks. Show us your highlights, out on the water, for a chance to meet up with me and Blake Murray, who's one of the greatest wakeboarders of all time. We'll fly you in, and we'll spend a day on the water with you. And Caleb's a big wakeboarder.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. He's not just a basketball player, right?
He's he's a freak.
He's a freak athlete. Why'd you go to Baylor, dude? Anyway.
Well, that's a whole nother show.
Yeah. You guys want to talk about that right now?
Yeah.
Anyway, so but yeah, that is in many cases what we try and do. So we look for ways to capitalize, to help the student athlete capitalize in really unique ways.
And then you capitalize on their capitalization.
That's right.
So
everybody wins.
Everybody wins.
Are there any rules?
That's the big question.
Yes, there are rules.
There are rules?
There are rules.
And who tells you what the rules are? Because it seems like the NCAA said, you know what? Why don't all you schools figure it out?
We'll let the state laws govern it, right?
Yeah, there are state laws. That's right. So, but Gary is, the guy that keeps me in line with BYU specifically.
Yeah.
And I have gotten in trouble 3 or 4 times. But I'm learning, right?
And how do you know?
So yeah, exactly.
So you're talking about Gary from compliance.
Yeah, I'm talking about Gary.
Who's
Gary,
an attorney?
Yeah, he was an attorney, and he's great, you know. And look, these universities, they're learning too, right? And they're getting their hands slapped, and who even knows who's slapping their hands? But the regulations, you know, they're coming, but they're still, you know, it's better to what is it?
You push the envelope while you can.
Yeah, push the envelope while you can.
Step back a little bit, then you step back.
That's right.
And do you think, Scott, that at some point the NCAA or the federal or state governments are going to go, whoa, okay, we've lost a little bit of control of this. We got to gather
without
this thing
question.
back in. That's going to happen,
that,
right?
That without question. And I don't think it's going to close the door on big opportunities for student athletes. They just want a little more structure because things could get out of hand, and there could be there are some big concerns around this new opening, you know, the NIL space. And you know, some of the I still think this UCLA USC deal, it's solely money, and they know the NIL. It's like if you have a brain, you know they're making moves for money. And they're smart. I get it. Like every school, the more money you have, the more opportunity you create. And so, but I also think this is a massive opportunity for BYU.
Right.
And that's and another reason, going back to your original question, I would love to create new ways to excite players. You know, I'm always tweeting at these. Every year I look for the top 100 blue chips in all the sports, the big sports, and I follow them.
Yeah.
And I try and, you know, get to know them. I mean, I'm silently recruiting, but not really. But I always am like, you know, I'll joke with like, hey, Bam Bam's on us, on me for a year, 2 years, for life if you come. Just joking around, but not really. I'm kind of being serious too. Right. But
you can do that.
I can do it.
Yeah.
I can do it. So these athletes, they are aware that there are opportunities for money making wherever they go. And so these athletic programs are wise to align with businesses that are looking to align with student athletes. And so, you know,
but they will do it in the right way.
They'll do it
really put them at risk, right?
That's right. They can never do it and put them at risk. And that's the other thing. Like, I know Gary is making sure, and this is props to Gary. Gary's making sure that everything is done correctly, because I know he wants to pioneer and pave the way. And the whole Tom, I know Tom is focused on it as well. They want to do things ethically and the right way, but they also want to set the precedence for the rest of the country.
Can BYU, I know all of our followers and people that watch the show and download it, they want to know if BYU can compete in the Big 12 from an NIL perspective. So can they compete with Oklahoma State and with Baylor and these schools from an NIL perspective? And can they compete on a national level?
Yes, and more yes. And it's only going to become more the case as time goes on, mark my words.
So you think BYU can be the leader in this space?
For sure.
They shouldn't be afraid that Miami is giving a guy $9.5 million.
But BYU's never going to give a guy $9 million. That's just not how they're going to do it.
Well, it's not BYU giving it. BYU doesn't give anything to them. BYU opens doors for them.
Yeah.
The better question is, it really comes down to the athletes and their reach. So athletes' value goes up as we get more time on TV, or TV time's big. The ESPN deal, it's big. You know, these different you know, stations or news stations or, you know, stories. These athletes, so the Jimmer craze. Jimmer would have made more money than any other student athlete, I believe, that year. I don't know.
I think you're right.
Right? I mean, he was everyone was talking
wanted
about
a
Jimmer.
piece of Jimmer.
Yeah. So, and I think this Big 12 move with you know, with BYU, it's going to open up even more doors. And a lot of these companies or brands that I'm working with, they are wanting to align with student athletes. They are wanting. I just met with a company today, a pizza company. Mm-hmm. You know what they want? They want student athletes. They want student athletes that can get in front of their following on social media and get them to order a pizza.
Why don't they want podcast hosts?
Yeah.
You guys just
live streamers.
We don't know what
just
we're
pass
doing.
this by
No.
We got to talk.
Yeah, guys. Well, I'll do my best.
We've
to
been
help
working
you.
in television for 30 years, and we don't know what we're doing.
Scott
we
Warner
just sit in front of a camera.
is the CEO of Gig.
A million people watch us, so we don't make any money.
That's going to change. And
yeah, I can help. Boys, I can help with this. I can help with that.
So this has been great because this has allowed, I think, our followers and those who are going to listen to the podcast and all that stuff, the concept of that's how it works, as opposed to, yes, we have an NIL office and we're taking care of our players. Yeah. And I think it's just awesome that one, you'd come in with us and to explain everybody can win.
Yeah, everyone
here. A lot of people think it's gonna kill college sports, but they also don't hear your perspective. So when you mix the perspectives, it's like, I can see how everyone can win here, and BYU can compete at a national level with all the big name schools. And it's not just the NIL deals why somebody chose to go to Texas as opposed to here. But getting that information out is important because most people don't know, and they think it's the Wild West with no rules. And Jerry Tarkanian, if he came back from the dead, would fit right into this whole operation.
And they think the university – so one of the clarifying points for everybody, I think, is the university doesn't run or make the deals, but they do monitor it. They have an attorney that's monitoring it to make sure that they stay clean.
Yeah, that's right.
So they're not making the deals. And then the other takeaways are exactly what you just said, but I think people need to remember that. And that companies like Gig help facilitate these things in an ethical way, and everybody wins.
All right, we're done talking about the NIL.
Okay.
Let's talk about cold cereal.
Yes.
Before we get to cold cereal, let's talk about bands. And so you go to Imagine Dragons with your company Gig, and you say, here's what we can do for you.
Yeah.
Dan Reynolds, who was sidelined with us down at the Arizona game last year, hanging out with Danny Ainge.
He's funny because I can't even tell the story because his first interaction with Danny Ainge, Dan was like dying. He's like, dude, I cannot. I just blabbered some stuff, and so he was kind of fanboying over Danny.
Yeah, and Ainge is
I'm
like,
what do you
up,
do? Like, and Danny's like kind of like that's Dan. Like they were both fanboying over each other. So it was really
both
funny.
friends. Danny, we go way back with Danny Ainge. Danny and my dad were super good friends.
Yeah.
So Danny's a great friend.
What do you do? When you go to see a band like Imagine Dragons, you say, "Here's what we can do for you. Here's what we need you to do for us."
Yeah.
And they're all like, "Scott, whatever you need."
Yeah. So bands love what it is that Gig offers because it allows them to interact with their fan base. And so essentially, it's actually we look to understand what their goals are. And so one of the last campaigns we did with the Dragons, it was they wanted to promote their new single "Wrecked," and "Wrecked" is a story about Dan's sister-in-law who passed away of cancer, and they wanted to get the word out about this new song, so they used Gig, or they basically extended an invite to all their followers. Hey guys, we want to create more awareness around cancer. Brandless is the name of the sponsor that sponsored the whole thing and actually gave a percentage of all sales back to Dan's charity, TRF? I'm trying to remember. It's his foundation. But they extended that invite to all of their followers to cover the song "Wrecked," and then they let the general public decide who wins it. And we had millions and millions of people back to the website. So we had hundreds and hundreds of submissions from kids from all over the world covering in a very unique way that song.
How cool is that?
Yeah. And so, and the social reach is incredible because the way that people win these competitions, they have to get their friends and family to come back and vote for them. So they're sharing all over social media. Hey guys, come back and vote for me for a chance to win. I think the winner won like $25,000 and a chance to meet the Imagine Dragons, and so that's kind of how it works. So bands will use the platform to drive awareness around something they're trying to push.
That's awesome.
It's cool.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
All right, Jack, can we get the so let's talk about, so really trucks bring cereal to your house?
They send it to me.
They send it to you in the mail. The postman's like going, you've got it for the love. Another thing
the
from
UPS
Kellogg's.
guy brings like media guides to my house.
He
brings
this
boxes
guy.
of cereal to Scott's house for Pete's sake.
It's fun.
All right, so what we got here is
oh yes.
So my wife wrapped these up. We're gonna have.
You know which one's which?
Yeah, we got names on it. We're gonna have reveals of the world's best cold cereals.
Diane's the co-producer of this segment.
So is this my decision or is this?
This is. I already know your decision. This is your reveal.
We know what they are. Dave quizzed us. He asked you.
So here's what we're gonna do. Well, first.
Milk is from the 70s. I hope it's still okay.
Look at this.
Jack.
Now we're
Everyone
promoting the
say hi to
BYU Creamery.
This is fresh 2% ice cold milk.
Yes.
So here's what we'll do.
Wait, do you drink with 2% milk or do you go with a whole?
Yeah, it depends on the mood, but mostly 2%.
Yeah,
because
2%. A lot of the cool guys do 2%.
Because you think you're fat, you're not. You could drink whole milk.
I run.
Do you know what that movie? That's a movie.
What movie is that from?
That's from Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, I should know that.
He says to the girl, If you're drinking skim milk,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're fat.
Yeah.
You could drink whole milk.
Yeah, that movie.
All right, David Nixon's coming up at the bottom of the hour. So what we're going to do, open up. This is the Wise Guys reveal of what you believe is the world's greatest cold cereal.
I'm gonna have to.
And
Disagree. I'm gonna.
wait. Hand that to Blaine.
Wait, is that the wrong one?
That might be the wrong one.
Wait.
Because
That's me.
that's Diane wrapped them, but then she forgot
This one's me.
to put names on
This
them.
one's me. I'm glad you didn't.
So,
go for
all
a
right.
reveal. That's not either.
Here, take this one.
That's top 50.
No, that's
Don't
Dave's.
knock mine.
That's Dave's garbage. This is yours.
This is the right one. Right
What?
colors.
Hey, they were wrapped when I came downstairs. I said, Diane, did you mark which ones
There
were
it
which?
is. There it
Yeah.
is.
Okay.
Okay, so you've made this point all over your social media page that this is like the world's greatest.
But
cereal.
everyone knows it.
But that's right. But
that's
but
not the
not
best cereal
everyone
in the world.
might know it. But just go ahead and reveal that to everyone because we're gonna take a next step.
We
here.
got drum roll. Do you guys have like a drum roll?
Yeah. Can we have a little drum roll music there?
Yeah. Man, I can't believe I had all those wrong. Okay. All right. So Scott's going with Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and I'm sure you have a reason for that. I'm not sure what they are,
I mean that has merit.
but
it has merit.
it's got a little bit of everything.
It's not even a question, gentlemen.
Okay, Blaine, let's counter that with what you got going on.
You know, I'm just gonna say this.
So this is Blaine's
There's a
favorite.
lot of cinnamon going around here.
good.
Because mine,
This is Cinnamon Life. Yeah.
for some reason,
Good one.
For some reason, I feel like it's healthy and scrumptious.
It is healthy and scrumptious.
All right. Well, I'm going over here on this desk. We're going to take it to the next level, and we're going
He's
to
going to
reveal
pure candy.
with Captain Crunch.
Not
I don't
Crunch
know why
Berries?
you just jumped. No, just straight. I don't know why you just say that's a top 50 cereal.
Hey, wait a minute,
I have a top 50.
Dave.
Okay, so here's
What did he just say when you revealed yours? The exact same first thing that I said. When Dave told me he was Captain Crunch, I go, not Crunch Berries?
Yeah, you got
Yeah.
The first words out of Scott's
I like 'em
mouth.
straight.
What, not Crunch Berries?
I know. Crunch Berries get in the way.
And correct
okay.
me if I'm wrong, but once in a while, when you have Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries,
So
you
look-
eat all the Captain Crunches out and you leave 4 bites of nothing but the berries.
So those listen to
at
the
end,
podcast, what
sopping.
we got, we're opening up our cereals.
Wait.
Captain Crunch, Cinnamon Life.
And are we going to just eat our favorite?
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the 3 top cereals in the world, and we're going to merge them all into one.
Oh, so you do a
So
little
don't
bit
fill
of
that
each?
bowl. Just put a little bit in there, yeah. Everybody's got, and we'll just pass them around, and we'll put some milk on it. So we thought, since these are all our number ones, as you can, this is Captain Crunch going in the bowl, if you can hear that. And then I'll
You can
pass
hear.
that over here.
Hey, we got people going, Cinnamon Toast Crunch is the best.
Everyone knows it.
So,
Look.
hey,
here.
I'm with
us.
Dave, grew up on that. I appreciate that. So, and then hand me the Cinnamon Life.
Did you get the CTC yet?
Oh, wait, I got to have some of that first. There's the Captain Crunch.
See, this one's going to ruin the two.
You
But
think,
that's okay.
you think the
Dave's choice is going to ruin the combo here, but that's all right.
cinnamon, and pure sugar nuggets.
I don't know. Cinnamon Life.
Wait, I didn't get any of the
There's
Cinnamon
laws. There's laws in some states.
Where's
won't
the
even let you
Cinnamon
do
Toast
this.
Crunch? I need some Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Oh, there's this over here. Take that.
Yeah.
All right, hang on. And then, okay, there's that.
You guys know my claim
Got
to
to mix
fame.
this thing up.
Oh, we're talking.
So,
So
one,
now-
one of the last video podcasts that I did, they blindfolded me.
Hey, everybody, this is Jack's versus
Jack,
Chris.
there's,
Jack,
I
what's up,
poured the milk on mine. Jack, could you hand that over to those guys?
Jack is our coordinating producer.
So you guys got to hear this. I'm very,
All right.
very, very proud
Can't
of this.
wait to hear that.
Okay. So they blindfolded me and gave me 50 bowls of cereal.
Oh, my gosh.
One at a time, blindfolded. I was 49 out of 50 guessing them, blindfolded.
49 out of
What one did
49
you?
out of-
What one did you miss?
Okay, so the reason I missed it, and you're going to understand why in a second, they poured milk in all these bowls. So, you know, you got to taste the texture of it. And so the one I missed was Honey Bunches of Oats, which I should never miss.
yeah.
But I said it was Frosted Flakes because it was soggy.
Ah,
So that's the only reason I
deceived by the
missed it,
milk.
But that was
So,
Here's a question. What happened to the Fruit Loops, Dave? Fruit Loops are
Top 10.
they're in the top 3, my top 3. So,
this isn't bad.
this is actually a pretty good mix.
This
This
is
is a
for
good
podcast,
mix.
we're eating a mixture of Captain Crunch, Cinnamon
You guys, you got to try
Life, and
You gotta try this.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
I have to tell,
I'm not kidding. This is good.
Dave, you remember.
Why are you surprised?
I've never done
you
this
remember
combo.
Danny Plater, right?
Wow, yeah.
Do you remember Danny Plater? He was Jim McMahon's favorite receiver back in the old days.
Passed away last year.
Passed away this last year. And what Danny and by the way, the poll's up. It's not showing up here, but it's up on the thing to see what your favorite cereal is right now.
It's Captain Crunch and a
Crunch
Runaway,
is leading the
but
way
just
in a
keep it.
runaway, which is craziness. But
People, let the people speak.
Crazy pills.
so Danny had a brain tumor and had to have brain surgery and struggled a lot of his life and we all loved him up, and he would make his rounds on Sunday to a lot of the old teammates' homes. And at our house, we knew what he wanted. He said, if you guys just could, do you guys have some cereal for me? We said, what's your favorite cereal? His favorite cereal was Apple Jacks.
Awesome.
Okay, yeah.
So, which is a great cereal, right? Is that in your top 10?
Top 20.
And so Brenda would get him his own bin of Apple Jacks up in the cupboard. He had his own milk because he wanted whole milk. And every Sunday, he would stop by Sunday afternoon on his route. He would go right to the cupboard, get his Apple Jacks, fill up that bowl, sit and visit with us for a little bit.
That's so great.
Eat his Apple Jacks. Cereal is life, folks, right?
Yeah.
It's the fabric of our life.
No pun intended on your
right,
choice.
and then he would head off to the next place. But he would stop at our house every Sunday for
so
a bowl of Apple Jacks. Right up, and he had some at our house just the day before he got sick and went into the hospital and passed away. Yeah. So the last time he stopped by, he had some of his Apple Jacks. It's great memories of him.
The Coug Eye said, hey, old school shredded wheat. Come on. Another one about Cheerios. You know what? You know what I didn't appreciate?
What's the worst cereal? I agree with Jack. It's grape nuts for pizza.
That'll be served in hell, guys.
You know what I don't understand? When they went to whole grain, it changed Trix, changed Fruit Loops. It changed the world I knew as a kid. Then it's still okay, but they're not quite the same. I don't know why they went to whole grain. It's about the same time when soda pop went to fructose. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So people are asking Dave what happened to Fruit Loops. There's nothing wrong with Fruit Loops.
There's nothing wrong with Fruit
Loops.
Here's a trivia question. What was Honey Smacks called before Honey Smacks?
Sugar Smacks.
Come on.
I'm impressed, boy.
And the frog's name would come on and say, dig 'em. That was the ad. It was a frog. Dig 'em.
That's right.
How about same question for Pops, what they used to be called?
Sugar Pops.
Sugar Pops.
Why'd they take sugar out of it?
Sugar. They left the sugar in. They just took it off the box, and then they called it Corn Pops.
So Web Surfer 787 says Cocoa Puffs.
You know what? Cocoa Puffs have a place. They have a place.
Crazy bird. Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs. Like you'd go around doing that. I remember all the commercials. What, I go back to chocolate frosted sugar.
Here's what my parents used to do.
Wow.
On Saturday mornings, we had a bazillion kids. I'm one of 10.
Really?
On Saturday mornings, they would get sugar coated cereals. Only day of the week. And that was to get us up, because if you didn't get up, it was all gone by the time you got up. And then once we were up, they mow the lawn, do all this stuff. But their trick was, hey, we're doing sugar-coated cereals. Yeah, Saturday morning, it's a first come, first serve. And you think we were up the crack of dawn. Now, we couldn't get up at the crack of dawn for any school morning, but Saturday morning, we were there.
Too good.
BYU Sports Addict. I forgot about alphabets. How about that?
I liked alphabets.
That's old school.
I don't know why they did away with alphabets.
And Obie Grace asked, what cereal makes the best milk at the end? I hope that you just saw Scott in the traditional fashion. When he was done with his, he drank the milk out of the bottom of the bowl.
You have to. It's like sugar milk.
Yeah.
They actually make bottles of the after cereal milk. You can buy it.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. Frosted Flakes, Cheerios, Cinnamon Toast Crunch are my favorite after the cereal's gone milk moments.
Fruit Loops is pretty good. How about at the very end of the box when it's like straight sugar that comes out?
It's a pile of sugar.
Yeah.
That makes for the best after meal.
There you go.
So, sometimes Brenda will say, I don't know, what do you want to do for dinner tonight? And I'll go, should we just do cereal? And she goes, that's money. Let's go.
When I was single, I'd have cereal 3 times a day.
Fruity Prep,
you just
Fruity
mix it
Pebbles.
up. What's the difference from lunch and dinner? Difference between Frosted Flakes and Fruit Loops. Yeah, Fruity Pebbles is another one.
Do you guys remember?
Problem with Fruity Pebbles is they get soggy too fast.
Do you guys? Are you old enough to even remember Frankenberry?
And blueberry. And
you can still get them every Halloween.
Frankenberry. What's the blueberry one?
It's Blueberry.
Blueberry and Frankenberry.
And Count Chocula.
Count Chocula. Yep.
They're all good. Frankenberry is my favorite of the 3.
Oh, yeah.
But they come out every Halloween. So you can get them every Halloween. They're awesome. You guys know the one that has moved up the ranks incredibly fast for me It's called s'mores. Have you guys tried s'mores
There's
yet?
a lot. There's a lot going on there.
I tried it. I like it.
It's good.
I like it.
You need to give it a shot if you have not yet. It is the real deal. But yeah, we all love cereal.
Dr. Ketch is like, yep, Count Chocula. He's like, and you know what? Cereal, we all like it now, but doesn't cereal take you back to your childhood too?
I think that's why I love it so much.
When you're growing, it's just like something we can do that's a guilty pleasure that takes us back to our childhood.
Yeah, and it tricks your brain, makes you feel like you've eaten.
It's good stuff.
Until about 2 hours later, and you're like, what have I done? That's why I eat it at night.
Then you go back. Now you post pictures sometimes at night where you're like eating like 9 bowls before you go to bed. And I'm like, that can't be true.
It's the truth. Yeah, my wife made a compilation video of me over a month period sitting down to eat every night, and how many bowls count. Boom, boom, boom. The number of bowls.
Yep. Lucky Charms. People, I like Lucky Charms.
That's my number 2.
I would do the same thing with Lucky Charms that I did with Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries, where I would eat all of the grain part of it or whatever it was made of, grain or oats or corn or whatever, and I would just
save the marshmallows?
like 4 or 5 bites of nothing but marshmallow charms.
Yeah.
That's like having your main dish and dessert in the same bowl.
Tell everybody how they can reach you.
And
what does the 18 on your, what's that for on your handle?
You know, this is kind of a cool story, if it's okay if I share.
Yeah, do it.
So number 18 started with Eric Drage.
That's my boy right there.
It's funny, I ran into a Bam Bam's barbecue, but that's kind of where the interest in the number 18 started for me. Then it got a little bit more sentimental, and I'll share it with you. So the number 1 represents the atonement, and the number 8 represents eternal.
Oh, wow.
So I, as a kid, and I came up with this when I was 12 years old, and I wore the number all in sports and baseball and football, but just kind of like, one in Christ with an eternal perspective always. That's kind of where it came from.
Cool.
And you wore that number all the way up.
Yeah, all through high school. And I'll tell you what, it makes me tear up. I see all my kids wear number 18, so they all have number 18 on their backs or chest.
Do you have a family number?
Number 14.
14.
My brothers played quarterbacks.
Yep.
That's a good number.
And they were, Ty once came over to the house, so that solidified that forever.
Yeah, for sure.
And you have number 16.
Yeah, 16's our family number. So,
Montana?
So you know what? When I came out, my freshman year, Jim, somebody else had the number that I wore. I'm trying to remember who had it. Somebody had 14. I think it was Kevin Walker, our strong safety. And so that was the number I wore in high school. And they said, that's not available. You got a senior that has it. And Jimmy Mack told me, you should wear 16. That's what I wore when I was a sophomore. And he was a senior at the time. He had just broken 76 NCAA records the year before. But remember, Jim had changed to 9. I was like, you wore 16? He goes, yeah, that's what I wore when I was a sophomore. I go, give me 16.
That's awesome.
And so I took 16 because Jim recommended it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to honor that number. And then my boys wore 16 when they played. Cool. And Kellen, my oldest, he started a couple years at free safety. He made me a Father's Day gift that has, he took a game scene. So me out on the field throwing a ball against San Diego State, him defending a ball against San Diego State. Me against Utah, him making a tackle against Utah.
Whoa. That's great.
Me throwing a touchdown against Wyoming, him deflecting a pass against Wyoming. And he had these window.
That's so
it's like
cool.
one of my favorite.
That is so
cool.
It's really cool.
That is so cool.
Yep, that hangs in my office at the house. And remember when it was Spirit Tradition Honor was one of their things. He put that on this collage of pictures. So it's really one of my favorite things.
That is so cool.
Yep.
So the novelty of this show is, and we're just getting started really, a month and a half in, as a live stream, BYU fans all over the world can get here on a Tuesday. Once game starts, it should go through the roof, but it's just access to what they love, which is BYU football, and then we get to represent that quite a bit. But the sky's the limit with the growth of the church, the connections to BYU, and Big 12, raises all the boats. And so we're at the cusp of something really cool here just by access. People want access, and in our case, it'll be, Blaine, why did we throw a screen pass on 3rd and 7 against Baylor in the first quarter? All those things.
And thankfully, Aaron runs the same offense that he ran and that I ran when we played. And we'd have a little insight since my youngest coaches, linebackers, and specialists at BYU right now. But
Love it.
But I'm telling you, Jack and Jackson and DJ, those are our behind the scenes guys. Like DJ's, directs all this and TD's it for us, and Jackson is running all of the. You see them all at the control modules
I can
over
see
here.
them all.
And then Dave, these guys promise me that I can do what you're telling us that we should be doing. That once we get this thing going, that we can branch out into cereal, but to some of the other things that we love, right? Into music.
Yeah.
Because music is huge in our house, and we've got a daughter that's a Broadway star, and we're going to start expanding this thing to tap into BYU folks all over the world that have different interests, and eventually we'll keep our core. We're always going to talk BYU sports, but we may have those segments where we do fun stuff.
You should. And I would recommend that you come up with 5 questions that you ask every one of your guests. Could be, who's your favorite BYU player of all time? What's your favorite cereal? Who's your favorite villain of all time? Favorite superhero? It's just ask them crazy stuff. The other thing is going forward to help with the NIL space, you should always have the mug. So a mug or a drink, like a bowl, it should say, something like doTERRA or Coca-Cola or Home Depot. That's money. People will pay a lot of money for that.
There you go.
That's right.
That's right.
See, we're already talking about how would make money, boys.
That's right.
So
That's right.
Before we got sidetracked, tell us how people can get a hold of you.
Yes.
So Scott Warner 18, again, consistent across all social channels. That's my user handle. Everyone should have the same user handle across all social channels, even if you don't get one. I tried to get Scott Warner. The only one I couldn't get on was Instagram, so I had to go Scott Warner 18, which I'm happy with. But I'm telling you, athletes, stay consistent, same user handle across all platforms. You got to do it.
All right, will you come back?
I would love to.
Awesome.
We got to get you. We'll do like a mid-season report.
Yeah, hey, I would love it. BYU is going to win a football national championship before 2030. Did you hear it?
Wow.
You heard it first.
We heard it.
Okay,
we recorded it. It'll be on the podcast tomorrow morning.
In our second hour, Dave Nixon. You know Dave, don't you? Have you
Yeah, I
met
know Dave, of course.
He's coming up here in a minute.
Nixon,
Where is good old
So
Dave?
he's a loser. He's going to do it from home
He's
because
gonna Zoom.
when you
Oh,
live,
He's all the way in
get your
Draper.
button.
when you live in
Oh, gosh.
Draper, there's a lot between us.
Dude, I had to drive from Orem. Like, seriously.
I want you to know
Across
that,
the river.
Hey, Robbie Bosco told me, I just come in the studio. But Dave has to be in Draper. So
He's a good dude.
no, he's great. We love Dave, and we work a lot of shows with him. But
He's a good dude.
he's going to come on. We're going to so ESPN has this FPI thing. We're not going to tell the folks yet. We're going to get into it about how many wins they predict for BYU based on their FPI formula. It's not as many as people think. What's your over under win total for BYU this year? Leave us with that.
It's 12 games, right? 11 or 12?
12 regular season.
I'm gonna go with 10-2.
10-2 in the regular season, says Scott.
Who do you think we're going to lose to?
I don't want to answer.
Here's the schedule. Here's the schedule in case you.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's easy. I'll tell you, when people ask for this question, it's tough to win all the games, and there's some competitive games on there. There's a lot, actually. But when you look at that schedule with the question, who can't they beat? It's hard to come up with.
They can't
Well,
beat
they're
Notre
going to be 10-3. Okay, then who are the 3 teams they can't beat? And then all of a sudden you're like, maybe there's just one they can't beat.
I don't
These
think
others
they
they
can.
could beat.
I don't know.
Dame,
There's
they can't.
Notre Dame is going to be really, really good.
Yeah.
And it's not a neutral
So let me
field.
see this.
Yeah, and
So
this is here.
Notre Dame is going to be.
And these are the FPI percentages that ESPN assigned winning chance.
And we're going to go over those
We're gonna
for
go through
everybody.
them.
I will just tell you that I think we're actually going to surprise and upset some people. I don't think we beat Notre Dame, but I think we beat Baylor. I think we beat Oregon.
I agree with that right there.
I think we're going to lose to one of the lower
Boise
lowest side
State,
things.
Utah State,
You know, don't sleep on Liberty.
Liberty.
No, I mean the Boise State last year. I still get so angry over that. I can't use that.
Well,
word.
we fumbled 3 times. We gave them 20 points.
Yeah, we served that up. We should have won that game. But I think we're going to have the same issue.
I think they're going to beat Boise State this year because
Yeah,
they're
I
going to
do
play with a
too.
chip on their shoulder. But Arkansas is on that schedule.
Arkansas,
really skilled
Stanford,
and really
yeah,
fast.
yeah.
Stanford's got talent. They
Yeah.
just haven't been good the last couple of years. So there's a lot for me that are 50-50. But here's how I feel about BYU right now. And I remember a day. And I like I tell Dave, I don't like to go, hey, when I played. But there's been
Scott,
different.
He likes to say
No,
that.
I never say it.
I never heard it.
But there's different teams over different eras at BYU that have been really good year after year. And every one of those teams have the same ingredient, and that is they expect to win every time they walk out on the field. Like they just, when they don't win, they're like, well, that was an aberration. We just didn't do this and this and this. We'll fix that next week.
Yeah.
They just expect when they walk out on that field that they've put in the work and they're good enough and talented enough that they will not lose. And BYU had a couple seasons there with Bronco where they won 11 games.
Right.
You know Austin Colley.
Yeah.
You've worked with Austin. He and Max brought that mentality to that team.
Man.
John Beck's senior year, they had this mentality that we just don't lose. We just don't do it, right? I can take you back to every era when BYU kind of went on a run. I feel like right now they feel that way.
I think they do too.
I feel like they feel like we win. That's what we do.
We're going to have a great season for one reason in my mind. I think it's our defense. I think our defense, they're going to come
surprise
up.
people.
They're
Right?
going to surprise people. Yep. Those dudes.
Hey, we give Scott this parting gift.
Yeah.
That is so sweet
Remember us.
of you.
I'm sure
This
you
will
have
be
like
gone.
30 at home. But that's
running
the
low
one
actually
from
right
us.
now.
That's the
Thank
one
you,
from
guys.
us.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun. It's going to be a fun season. I think Jaron's going to have a heck of a season.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a sleeper.
Before it's all said and done, is he a first-round draft pick?
Yes, I think he's a first-round draft pick.
When's the last
He's
time
healthy,
BYU
sure.
had back-to-back quarterbacks first-round draft picks? Because they had three
That's
or
been
four in a
years.
row.
Well, Mark Wilson, who's going to be on the show
They
coming
went
up.
Mark
Jim McMahon.
to Jim, back to Steve. People, they technically don't do Steve.
Because he diverted into the USFL.
And
Yeah,
he
Canada.
was the number one pick in the USFL draft, which was before the NFL draft. Had Steve not signed with the USFL, he would have been
Top
the number
10.
one overall pick.
You think so?
Yep. Would have been the number one overall pick. So,
Really?
he's a first rounder for sure. So,
Really?
Yeah, but him and
Yeah.
Herschel Walker, right? Would
Yep.
have battled
Yeah.
for it.
and running backs, even back then, they don't value as much as they do quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Hey, tell your wife when you left the baseball game to just pick up a drink and got diverted. Just tell her that we
See,
say hello.
I was hanging with Dave
and it
and
went a
Blake.
little longer than we expected.
I
but
ran
it's
into
all
some
good.
old buddies, and I just hung.
Hey, this has been a blast, guys. I really appreciate you having me.
Thank you
real.
for being here.
Glad to have you,
Yes.
Scott. Glad to
Scott
have you.
Warner, CEO of GIG, heavily involved in NIL at BYU and predicted a BYU national championship before 2030.
Before 2030.
It's happening.
And a 10-2 regular season
Let's go.
this year.
And you
Let's
can watch
go.
this interview again at ysguys.com as soon as we're done, and also the podcast tomorrow. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, Scott.
Appreciate
Great
it.
to have you.
David Nixon's coming up in just a bit. Hey, join us 2 weeks from tonight over on BYU TV for the season premiere of After Further Review. Here it is, an hour-long special. Tyler Algier, run into history as we look back at his record-setting season of 2021. You can watch it 2 weeks from tonight, 7 Eastern, 5 Mountain on the BYU TV app, just before an all-new The Wise Guys here on ysguys.com. And Max Hall's going to join us that night. We're still working on a running back. We'll see if we can get Harvey here. If not, we'll go to, the Blue Bloods, one of the top 5 guys. But Max is already committed for that night, and that'll be awesome. 2 weeks from tonight, After Further Review returns to BYU TV. All right, pro football preseason top 25. Pro football, they put out a college poll.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they just put that out, and it's another poll where BYU's sitting right kind of where they're sitting in all the other polls.
Yeah, they've been consistently between number 15 and between number 23 in almost every poll that's come out. Of course, there's some there's some outside that doesn't have them ranked, and there was one that had them really high. But what I say we can consistently say with all these polls that are coming out, that's that range. But these other teams are all ranked in these polls as well. And you've got Notre Dame, who's been consistently a top 10 preseason pick, all in every single poll, as high as number 5 in some polls. You've got Baylor in this poll that comes in at number 14, and Oregon at number 15.
BYU's number 19. This is the pro football preseason top 25. At Cougar Stats is a pretty good site on Twitter. They put out a lot of information, and they put out this. The preseason AP top 25 is about a month out, right?
Right.
Toward the middle to end of August. Looking over the last 2 seasons, here are the top 9 teams with the most appearances in the AP poll, as tweeted by at Cougar Stats earlier. Georgia, Notre Dame, Alabama tied 1, 2, and 3 at 33.
1A, 1B, 1C, right?
And then Cincinnati was going to the Big 12. They've been in 31 times. Ohio State, 31. Oklahoma, 32. And then at number 7, BYU at number 29. 29 times they've been ranked in the AP Top 25 over the last 2 seasons. They finished number 11 in 2020 and number 19 last year. Oregon is number 8 in that list, and Oklahoma State's 26. So of the last 2 years, BYU is ranked 7th as a team that's been in the top 20 more times than anyone else.
Yeah.
Number 7.
I'll tell you, a testament to me, too, is because lots of teams are ranked early in the season and fall off. The fact that BYU is ranked in the top 20 at the end of the season 2 of the last 3 years tells you the state of the program. Yep. That's more important to me than being ranked 12 3 games in, right? You finish the season ranked, that's a season. That's a season where you go, okay, that's special when you're ranked. And BYU finished number 11, as you mentioned, in 2020, and number 19 again last year. I think they were underrated last year.
Hey, tell us where you think BYU should be ranked here in the preseason. Get on our live stream and chime in as we look at the Big 12 preseason poll. Mm-hmm. The coaches poll will be out tomorrow for the Big 12 as Media Day kicks off in Arlington, Texas. They go Wednesday and Thursday. Next year, BYU will be at these meetings.
Will you and I get to, starting next year, vote in the preseason media poll for the Big 12? I hope we get to.
And maybe we'll do this show from the Big 12 meetings.
I hope we do. We should.
The future of the league will be a discussion point tomorrow when we hear from the commissioner. But why don't you roll out the BYU, the Big 12 media preseason poll, and then I want you to reveal where you think BYU would actually fit in that poll if they were in the league this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Big 12 media poll, and as you mentioned, coaches poll coming out tomorrow. It'll be interesting to see how that matches up. But the media have Baylor number 1. They have them repeating as champions. And remember, Baylor is going to be at BYU on September 10th. That'll be a great rematch.
Awesome.
Yeah, it'll be a great rematch. Number 2 is Oklahoma.
And they got 12 first-place votes. Baylor had 17.
Isn't it interesting, though, that Oklahoma maybe knocked a tiny bit off their perch? Because I can't remember the last time they weren't preseason number 1 in the media poll for the league. Oklahoma number 2. Not surprising, Oklahoma State number 3 with 9 first-place votes. Texas is number 4.
They're picked 4th in the Big 12.
Yeah, what's happened to Texas?
And that's Steve Sarkisian down there, former Cougar quarterback, now the head coach. But that surprised me. They got 2 first-place votes.
2 first-place votes.
But I sat there and I go, Texas is not back.
Yeah.
They're picked number 4.
Kansas State is picked 5th over Iowa State, who's at 6. Iowa State got 1 first-place vote, which is interesting.
Thanks, Coach.
But interesting, because Iowa State's been on a pretty good run.
Media poll, yeah.
Iowa State's been on a pretty good run the last couple years. But in this poll, Kansas State's ahead. TCU number 7, 8 West Virginia, 9 Texas Tech, and 10 Kansas. 10 doesn't surprise anybody, right?
Right.
If this was the basketball
poll. How about
poll,
Kansas going into
1.
Austin beating Texas last year?
I know. Kansas would be number 1 in the basketball poll. But I'll tell you, it's interesting that TCU and West Virginia at 7 and 8, what's happened to those 2 programs?
They stopped playing defense. Remember TCU used to have the best defense in the Mountain West?
Both teams kind of went to the spread, throwing it all over the place, Texas Tech kind of mentality, and now they're perennially there. It's just surprising to me that they haven't been better.
So where do you think BYU fits in that preseason poll?
Based on what I know BYU has coming back, I would have them 3rd behind Baylor and Oklahoma.
Ahead of Oklahoma State?
Yep.
And ahead of Texas?
Yep. That's where I'd have them. I'd have them in my preseason media poll. If I was voting this year, which I'm not, I would have them number 3.
That's interesting. That's a little higher than I
would probably have Iowa State and Kansas State reversed.
At 5 and 6.
Yep.
Texas you'd have at 4?
Yep.
Or they'd be 5th, I guess,
5th.
right?
Everybody would get bumped down 1 because BYU would be in the league. But I'd go Baylor. Actually, I would go Oklahoma 1, Baylor 2, BYU
now remember,
3.
Oklahoma, they got a new coach. All their quarterbacks left.
I know. It's Oklahoma.
And Baylor's got the same coach, but their quarterback left.
Well, and they have a guy that started at the end of the season. I just look at Baylor. People are forgetting. They lose like 6 of their back 7 on defense, and that defense was awesome. And then they do have a couple of really good offensive linemen back, but they lose 3 offensive linemen, if I remember right. And so I'm just like, Oklahoma just typically reloads. I think Baylor had a special year with a lot of veterans, even some COVID seniors. And so I think Baylor comes back to reality. But 2's not bad in that league, right? No. So I would go Oklahoma 1, Baylor 2, BYU 3, Oklahoma State 4, Texas 5, Iowa State 6, Kansas State 7, TCU 8, West Virginia 9, Texas Tech 10, and Kansas 11. If you just stuck BYU in them. Now, you didn't ask me if,
I didn't ask you to put the other 2 guys in.
Cincinnati and Central Florida and Houston were in there. I would still put BYU at 3.
At number 3.
But I would have Cincinnati up there right after Oklahoma State before Texas. Even though Cincinnati's losing a lot of talent, they'd lose that quarterback who's been phenomenal.
I don't get Texas. I served my mission down there in Austin, and it was such a cool place, a great campus. Shaylee Gonzalez, the outstanding BYU women's basketball player, is transferring to Texas. She wants the chance to get to the NCAA tournament, win an NCAA tournament, and get to the WNBA. And you know what? Texas can do that.
Yeah, she can do it. And you know what? Shaylee's – some people transfer out and we think – I'm not going to mention names, but what are they doing? They're not going to play a different –
Why would you do that?
They're going to play a lesser role where they're going.
But why would Caleb Lohner go to Baylor, number one?
That's one that I'm thinking of. But there's more than that I'm thinking of. But Shaylee, no, she'll be a star at Texas. She's as good as anybody they have or better. Like she's a legitimate superstar that can play at any level, and I think will play in the WNBA.
And BYU may play Shaylee.
Yep. Her senior year, right?
Her senior year, next year. Not this season, next season.
Yeah, Shaylee's a little bit different. She's the best. She's the last 2 years the best player in the WCC.
Yeah.
So she's,
and it's a big hole for BYU to fill.
We love Shaylee. We hope she does unbelievably well.
David Nixon played linebacker at BYU between 2003 and 2008 with a church mission to Ecuador there in the middle. Finished with 137 solo tackles, 43 tackles for loss, 12 sacks, and 3 interceptions. Signed as a free agent by the Raiders in 2009. Played in 3 regular season games that season. Also played 3 games for the Texans the following year and had stops with the Rams twice, the Dolphins, the Raiders, before settling into life as a commercial real estate tycoon.
I like that word, tycoon.
And BYU football analyst on BYU TV, and he joins us. Look at that, and it's apparently we're shave free. This is after further review is still 2 weeks away. July? What's up, brother?
I've got 2 weeks to grow this out, and I got to shave in 2 weeks. Get ready for AFR.
Wait, hey, why don't you do the first show when we do the Tyler Algier show, that very first one? Shave the sides and do a goatee, right? And then somebody's going to squawk about it. Then shave the stash and just leave the beard, just like a little goater, and then shave everything and leave a soul patch right here.
Can we put up a poll maybe? We'll just see what people want to see. I can craft this however you guys want it, so just let me know.
David, Blaine just gave you 3 pieces of bad information.
Sounds about right.
Dave, when have I ever led you wrong? Never.
No comment.
Hey, look, ESPN's Football Power Index. They're forecasting a 7-4 season for BYU.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, 7-4.
7-5.
7-5 season for BYU. What do you think of that?
It's too low. Listen, people have been sleeping on BYU for years now, and BYU goes out there and exceeds expectations every year. I think the floor for this team is 8-4. I think the ceiling is obviously much higher. This team, when you look at all the guys returning and coming back to this team with great experience, we're talking not just experience against podunk teams, but teams at Baylor who BYU will be playing with next year. Bona fide great teams. These guys went out there week in and week out and played because of injuries and other issues this BYU football team has had in years past. And you throw that all together and you put it against this schedule BYU has, yes, the P5s this year are better. I think from top to bottom, the P5s are better than what BYU's faced probably in years past. Last year, BYU had the most P5s they've ever faced. But I think I would argue probably this year's P5s, the level in each team individually, when you put that all together, I think the level of those teams is probably the best BYU's ever faced. But you talk about experience, I think this is one of the most veteran teams that BYU's fielded in over a decade. When you look at the experience that these guys have played, maybe not juniors and seniors per se, but you talk about game reps, game experience, this team's got to be up there with some of the most experienced BYU teams that have ever touched the field.
And this, if we just look at it's the FPI, the formula they use. And remember, that changes every week. Like if BYU goes out and beats South Florida and Baylor in back-to-back games, then all of a sudden the winning percentages change, and they'll have them winning against Arkansas and Boise State. But right now, they have them losing to Baylor, Oregon, Notre Dame, Arkansas, and Boise State. What do you think about that?
Listen, we saw what BYU did in the Pac-12 last year. So for the fact they're riding off against Oregon after BYU swept the Pac-12 last year and beat Utah, who ended up beating Oregon and smacking Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game, I'm not sure where that's coming from. Arkansas, I can get to Arkansas. You look at Boise State. It took Boise State 4 turnovers, all deathly turnovers, and they barely beat BYU last year. Listen, I might have my blue goggles on, but I'm telling you, this team, we've done this in the years past, dating back to Zach Wilson, where we underestimated this BYU football team. And year out, they come out and they've proven us wrong. And so I think this is one of those years where I like being the underdog. It's always nice to be the underdog, not have that pressure on your shoulders. But with the schedule they're facing and with the talent they've got coming back, I just don't see how they don't go at least 8 wins. I think 9 is very realistic at this point. Maybe even 10, get to double digit like we've seen the last few years.
I'm kind of surprised that Baylor, they give BYU a 42.8% chance to win. It's the home opener. It's at night. It's a Big 12 team after all the joining the Big 12 and all of that stuff. Baylor handled them last year, but in the handling, beat them by 14 points. BYU comes back bigger, better, stronger, and at home.
And at elevation.
I think they win that game.
Right?
I think they beat Baylor in that game.
I think you throw in the factor of Baylor graduated most of their offensive line. They had one of the best offensive lines in the country. Maybe we get to that here in a little bit. I think BYU now, the scripts have been flipped a little bit. I think BYU now has one of the best offensive lines in the country. They graduated the majority of their secondary and their stud receivers. And so I think Baylor is looking to refill and reload a little bit. Whereas when BYU comes in, and once again, it's not like a broken record, but you look at the depth chart, and these are names that we've seen in this program for the last 2 or 3 years. And these are guys that, because of injuries, have had to step in and have performed really well. And so I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Obviously, Vegas and other people aren't. But that's okay. You like to be in that spot. And then you go out there and prove everybody wrong and hopefully you have a great season this year. And then you go into the Big 12 on a super big high.
Here's what I don't get with that beard. There's nothing growing on your cheeks.
Yeah, and by the way, BYU Sports Addict
What is
said,
that? It's like no man's land.
He said, there's not a single gray hair in that beard. What's up with that? And then, by the way, we did.
Oh yeah, there's some right there.
Oh, there's a little bit.
Yeah,
we did an Insta poll on whether you should go the mustache, the goatee, or the soul patch. 75% of the respondents said go with the soul patch.
Shave, by the way, was not an option. Shave clean was
were
not
you the
an
only
option.
vote, or how did that work?
No, 75% of those polled said soul patch.
Just think with millions, that's 75%.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
So, and somebody's asking which mission in Ecuador you served in.
Quito, Ecuador.
Because there's
2004 to 2006.
one of our streaming partners here. I don't know, what do we call them? What do you guys want to be called out there?
Are they streamers?
What are they called? Our stream, the people that join us and contribute, said he served in the Guayaquil mission.
Guayaquil.
Yeah, Guayaquil. So he's wondering.
Yeah, that was a little further southwest, but same country, so we're basically brothers.
And
so wherever you are.
And Linda Murray, by the way, Linda Murray says, do the Top Gun mustache look. So that's what she's saying. Do the Top Gun mustache look.
You guys want to know the true story behind this?
Yeah.
Yes.
There has to be.
We
Please.
just moved homes 2 weeks ago, and I cannot find my electric razor to save my life right now.
And Dave does use an electric razor at all times.
Trust me, if he doesn't have an electric razor, there's no shaving.
He can't shave with a blade.
These guys know me best. Right before we go to AFR, I get a what do they call it, 12 o'clock shadow.
Yep.
And so I always shave right before we go on air, just so it's nice and clean cut.
Most people get a 5 o'clock shadow, but Dave shaves in the morning, and then he has a noon shadow.
Yeah, it's a 12 or 5, whatever you want to go with.
He's a guy so manly that
It takes a team
No,
of makeup.
I was going to do a little. Do you remember
This
the
is why
Little
I like to
Rascals?
join your guys' show. The
Little-
just talks me up.
The Little Rascals movie. Do you remember that line? Dave Nixon's a guy so manly. If he fell off a building, he'd go out of his way to fall on a girl.
I don't know that one.
The Little Rascals.
Hey, Scott Warner was on with us a few minutes ago, and he left, and he texted when you came on. He said his mom just let him know that she and Dave Nixon's mom, Laura, were roommates at BYU
What?
back in the day. And his mom dated your Uncle Mark back in college.
That's my Uncle Mark.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
anyway,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
Scott
So
Warner
basically,
chiming in.
what you're telling me is we're basically brothers at this point.
Yep. Well, and Dave.
You want to be his brother. You want to
Dave's-
get in on that gig thing.
I knew Dave's mother-in-law way before Dave was a twinkle in anybody's eye.
See?
Yep.
Which is amazing because he's not that young.
No, he's not that young.
Hey, who hit you the hardest in the NFL?
There were a few. I would probably go with, listen, any fullback that you face and you try to go as a linebacker, you come meet them in the hole.
Oh, yeah.
The NFL fullbacks, the thing about them is they're all only like 5'8", and they're all like 250 pounds of just rock solid muscle. So the leverage game, when you talk about leverage, we'll talk about this in AFR all the time, right? We roll this year, we have in the past. When you're going up against these fullbacks that are 5'8", 5'10", and just 250 pounds of mean muscle, the leverage game is not in your favor as a 6'3" guy. So there were some times where I met in some drills. There were some guys I met in the middle, in the hole. And I'm trying to remember with the Raiders. Goodness gracious. He played for years in the NFL. Anyways, he was a tank. I remember hitting him and just my head hurting. There are a lot of guys. That's the thing about the NFL. I talk to guys who are going to play the NFL, and I tell them is you're going against, even on special teams, you're going against the guy across from you was first team all SEC, right? I mean, these aren't scrubs. The guys you're going up against week in and week out are guys that are, first team SEC, ACC, all the big conferences. And so you're going against dudes that are pretty capable. And frankly, guys that probably should be starting in the NFL, but they're behind a veteran that's been playing for 10 or 12 years. So there are a lot of hard hits.
We asked Chad Lewis, who did you get hit the hardest by? Of course, he's playing tight end. Guess who he said? Ray.
Yeah.
Ray Lewis. He's like, Ray.
That's probably a consensus across the board. That guy was a mean dude.
He's like, but of course Dave played on the same side of the ball as Ray, so you didn't have to hit him. But Chad's like, without hesitation, Ray Lewis, he hit me.
Now
Lorenzo Neal, that's the name.
Lorenzo, didn't he play at Fresno State?
Yes,
in college.
Like that.
I remember Lorenzo.
West guy.
Yeah.
Who did you hit the hardest?
Who did I hit the hardest? So, kind of my claim to fame in the NFL was this. Great. This story is great. If we have time,
we got
time.
We got time.
My third year in the NFL, I got released by the Rams. You read off my biography. I went to the Dolphins for a quick little bit, got released there, and I was on my couch for the first half of the season. We're talking 8 weeks. By about the fifth week, I pretty much stopped working out. My body was beat up from training camp. I was just tired. So I just kind of took it easy for probably about 3 weeks.
Weren't you slumming with us? Weren't you slumming with us during that time?
Yeah.
Yes.
Were you with us?
Yes,
Yeah, I think you were.
Yeah.
I was. And so all of a sudden my agent calls and said, hey, the Rams want to come work you out. They've had some injuries. And I was like, oh boy, I literally haven't worked out for like 3 weeks. So I go into the workout. It's only me. They worked out another guy, Chase Blackburn, who had played for the New York Giants. They worked him out right before me. And I go in and they're running me through drills. They have the GM, the head coach, the head guy, player personnel, and my position coach. And they're running me through drills. And guys, I am sucking wind. Like I'm struggling. But I was hiding it really well. I was stand up tall. And as I'd walk away, I take big, deep breaths to try to recover. I somehow make it to the workout. And I was like, that was one of the worst workouts ever. All of a sudden, I get a call from my agent. I shower up, get a call from my agent. He's like, they're signing you today. They're signing you to their roster.
Wow.
Like, they need you to.
So it wasn't even to the practice squad. It was to the roster.
Straight up to the roster. We need you to contribute. They need you to contribute like ASAP. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I walk into meetings the next day. Up on the projector is my name starting on every single special team.
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
And immediately I thought of my hip flexors. I'm like, those things are about to be shredded. Right? So we go that week. We play the Cleveland Browns. This is the year that we went 2-14.
Oh.
We were terrible. We got our head coach fired because we were so bad. And Sam Bradford was our quarterback, which I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but Sam was terrible. And so we go play the Browns. We're losing. I think it was 7-9. I mean, it was a terrible game. Fourth quarter, 6 minutes left. We punt the ball. I'm running down full speed. Josh Cribbs, you got to remember that name, Josh Cribbs. He's a returner, gets it, tries to make a move on a guy. And I see him expose the ball a little bit. And I come down and I lay a hit on him. And I knock the ball loose. We recover on their 30-yard line. Of course, we go 3 and out. And we kick the field goal to win the game.
Hey, nice job.
After the game, we walk in the locker room. Steve Spagnuolo, our head coach, has the game ball, and he gives it to me.
Yes.
That's like a Disney movie.
I get the game ball, and I hadn't worked out for 3-4 weeks prior to that game. So it's a testament to all you guys who are feeling pretty crappy about yourself. Just takes one workout, get in there, get it done.
I thought the lesson was going to be never stop working out, always be prepared. And the lesson is go ahead and slack off.
Take the fall
You'll
off.
still get a game ball? What kind of a lesson is
Let
that?
your body rest.
I hope there's
if
no
your body's fatigued, let it rest.
I hope there's
That's
no
all
young
it is.
people listening to this podcast because
I
that's
don't know how we haven't
that's
heard
just
that
bad
story like
form
30
right there.
times over the last
That's
few
bad
days.
form. Whatever you
Oh,
do,
man.
just slack off because you'll still get a game ball. What kind of a message is that for the kids?
It's the truth. I'm just speaking the truth right now.
Okay, I know.
David, I read in high school you ran the 40 in 4.5. If you were to run it tonight, what would the time be?
Easy, 4.5.
Yes.
I think you might want to flip those numbers. It might be a 5.4 right now.
Hey, I'd be happy with a 5.4 right now for either of us.
Honestly, I have no idea what I run. I could think I'm still athletic, but every once in a while I'll actually try and go run. And I feel like I'm moving really fast, but then I realize like little kids are flying by me. And it's really defeating. But I used to be fast. At least that's what I tell my kids. I used to be fast.
We all used to be. But hey, everywhere I go, people are pulling me aside and saying, okay, how good are they going to be? And I'm with you. I think I put 9 as my over-under number. I think with the right breaks, they could win 10 in the regular season, and it'd be really, really special if they did. They'd be ranked. But everybody goes, but what about the defense? How's the defense going to be? Are they going to be better? Are these backers back? What's your thought on the defense? Did they take a step forward this year or not?
Blaine, you and I went to spring ball this year. We got a good chance to watch these guys, especially with Wilgar and Peely kind of nursing their injuries. There are a lot of young guys that got some really valuable reps during spring ball. It was fun to watch, other kids step up and get those reps. I like this defense a lot. Listen, I've been on record saying I do wish BYU during this offseason maybe would have got 1 or 2 JUCO guys or maybe 1 or 2 transfers to shore up that defensive line. Only because that defensive line has had some serious injuries in years past. But assuming everyone's healthy, I mean, you look at Atunas Mahe, you look at Caden Haas, you look at Tyler Batty on the outside. I mean, this BYU defense has guys who, once again, have been around the block and have contributed. And then the linebackers, I really like these linebackers. As you guys know, I took some flack last year in AFR saying that this I thought was one of the best linebacker groups in the country. Unfortunately, injury kind of derailed that a little bit. But you've got Wilgar coming back. You got Peely coming back. You got Ben Bywater on the outside. You've got Max Tooley, who's back there. You've got Pepe Tanavasa, who's gotten some valuable reps, who's going to be able to rotate in. I like this linebacker core. Of course, it always comes down to injuries. Can these guys stay healthy? You throw Jackson Kafusi, Josh Wilson, some of these other guys in there.
Dave, people forget, they're like, oh, they couldn't stop the run. And I'm going, are you guys forgetting that when all of those guys Dave just mentioned were healthy, Utah couldn't run it at all on them. Arizona State couldn't run it on them, right? When they were healthy, people couldn't run the ball. And when they started to be depleted, especially at that linebacker position, because linebackers are the guys that fill those holes and step up and make the plays, right? D linemen are block eaters. Linebackers make tackles. It's never the D tackle that leads the team in tackle. It's the middle backer, right? Yeah. And so they could stop the run when they were healthy. So why would we think any differently? But people act like, oh, they couldn't stop the run last year. How are they going to do it this year? Am I crazy thinking that they'll be good?
I think they'll be exceptional, honestly. And once again, this ongoing theme of guys getting these valuable reps while those studs were having to rehab or were out because of injuries. And so, I think you add them all in the mix. The one name to look out for is my little nephew, Michael Daly.
That's right.
He's been running with the twos and getting some solid reps. And so I think you might see him out there on the field. He's looking good.
Is he playing backer or?
They've got him playing Mike.
Oh, right, they have a Mike Backer. And then his younger brother, when's he coming back?
He's on his mission. He just hit, I think, 13 months on his mission.
Okay.
So he'll be back not next season, but he'll be back next season then.
Yeah, back next season. He'll
probably
be
gray shirt or red shirt, right? Yeah.
Yep. He's in Brazil right now. But But I do. I like this defense. I really do. Defensive line is something that's always going to be kind of ever evolving, but they've got so many horses. I mean, throw Chaz Ayu in there as well, who they've got working out there at the Flash. I mean, there's just a lot of moving pieces that they're going to find ways to get these guys on the field. And to your point, Blaine, I mean, early on in the season when everyone was healthy, that defense was, I mean, yeah, you go back to that Utah game, they were flying around and knocking Utah off the ball. I mean, it was, and Utah wasn't used to that. Utah in the past 10 years they've been more dominant up front. And all of a sudden they ran to BYU as a buzzsaw. And then, of course, the rest of the season they played well. And so you look at BYU, when healthy, they can hang really with anybody in the country. I firmly believe that. But it's being healthy. And that's one thing heading into Big 12 this team's got to get better at is building depth, because when those ones go down, you've got to have a guy that's up to par with those ones that can step in and contribute, because that's what the Big 12 is all about, right? When you step into P5, it's week in and week out.
Yep.
David Nixon is with us tonight from BYU TV and selling everything. If everything for sale's got his name on it, if you're driving around, it's like selling half the state.
Anything that's commercial real estate in this state has Dave's name on it.
One day he drove by and just put a for sale sign up in front of my house, and I said, "This isn't for sale."
You said, "Dave, it's residential."
This is not a commercial thing. AFR debuts in 2 weeks. Tyler Algier run into history. We'll look back at his year last year. What do you think his chances are with the Falcons?
I mean, you look at what they did, moving their running backs and not re-signing them. I think Tyler's got a fantastic shot to come in and compete. I don't think anything will be handed to him as a 5th-round pick. Nothing's gifted to you. But this is a guy who I think his work ethics will show through first practice. I think they'll realize this guy's he's just a beast. And his motor always runs. He's humble. He's willing to do whatever it takes. And I'm telling you what, guys rally around that, especially in the NFL, because that's not a common trait that a lot of guys have.
Yeah.
Is a strong work ethic like that, and a humble, willing to take the back seat. And I think you'll see that they'll rally around him, seeing that he's not there. It's not all about Tyler. I mean, the play that I always love is, of course, the Arizona State play where he hawks down, the defender and punches the ball out. But I love most about it was the way he just nonchalantly gets up and just starts walking back to the huddle. He wasn't pumping his chest. He wasn't trying to point to the crowd. It was just like it was another play for him. And I think that's his approach to everything when it comes to football. The kid's just a humble, hard worker, and NFL guys will rally around that. His offensive line will love him, and I think they'll block their butts off for him. And so I think he has a fantastic shot of having a great shot, not only making the team. I think his spot on the teams is pretty solid.
Yeah.
As a draft pick with signing bonus and all that, yeah, he could become the starter. So Atlanta season opener is against the Saints, and Taysom Hill. So Tyler and Taysom would face off. And we told people at the beginning that's your bro-in-law, that's your brother-in-law. He married your sister, who's also a phenomenal athlete, right?
I hope he walks around and tells everyone that you're his brother-in-law.
Yeah, he does.
I hope it goes back and forth.
Well, I will say when he was in college, my sister, when I was still playing the NFL, my sister would always tell him, listen, if our kids don't make the NFL, it's because of you. Your genes, not my genes.
She's tall. Your sis, she's tall, and she's athletic. Yeah, like it's not Taysom. So, how's what can you tell us about his foot after last year's injury, and how many positions do you think he'll play this year?
Yeah, listen, he's on track. He's running on it. He's able to kind of go. I wouldn't say he's full speed on it yet, but every day it's getting better and better. He just had the surgery a couple of weeks ago to get the screws out. They take the screws out with those springs. And so he's been nursing that. He hasn't been around for the OTAs because he's been trying to get his foot ready. But he's been in good communication with the coaching staff, and I think they're expecting him to come in and contribute. And whether that's a running back, a tight end, even a quarterback, I think there's going to be packages like we've seen with him in the past. I mean, you got to remember, Sean Payton left, but the offensive coordinator stayed there. And the offensive coordinator is the one that was calling these plays for Taysom before he got hurt. So there's some familiarity there that I don't think I think that will play out, and Taysom will still be involved in lots of different areas. But it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I think he'll, it sounds like he'll bounce around from the quarterback room to the tight end room to get some looks at running back. I mean, it's going to be really the same thing he's done in years past. And we'll see how the whole quarterback thing plays out. I will say that he still wants to play quarterback. That's no secret. He's very vocal about that. I still think he can still play quarterback. I mean, his record proves to be that he's a winning quarterback in the NFL. But it'll be interesting to see if he gets another shot or how everything plays out this year.
All right, let's finish with this last question. Can you believe that USC is in the Big Ten?
I can't. And honestly, every day something changes with this whole realignment stuff. I can't keep track of it.
Yeah.
There's rumors here, rumors there. But the fact that they're off, I did see something about today that the California Board of Regents is going to be suing UCLA or they're pursuing some type of legal action to maybe block UCLA from going. So wow. I don't know what's going on, but what a crazy world. Listen, I'm not a big advocate of it. You're basically going to an NFL model, AFC and NFC with the Big Ten and the SEC. So it's not, I don't think any college football fans truly love it. Even the fans of SEC and Big Ten conferences, I don't think love it.
Yeah.
But that's what's happening. You can't really fight it. That's what they decided. So every day is crazy. We'll see how this all plays out. But man, crazy times.
Yeah, I don't think people at Penn State care about playing UCLA ever. Yeah. So it's just not part of the history. And this is a game of history that we all respect.
How about our friends up north of here? A couple of weeks ago, they're feeling like kings of the hill, and now all of a sudden, one more school leaves that league, and that league might just crumble.
Yeah, there won't be a hill to stand on anymore here soon enough. I've talked to a lot of Utah fans, as we all have, and I think they're watching that news just as intently as we are. Who knows how it'll play out? I personally would love to see them in the Big 12. It'd be fun to spark that rivalry back up and have that game mean something. Going back to the Mountain West Conference days, we used to that game was the last game of the year, and it was usually to decide who won the Mountain West.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so you had a lot riding on it. It was fun. It was fun for players. I know sometimes fans can be funny and finicky that way and say, oh, we don't want to play BYU or we don't want to play Utah. I'll tell you what, the players love it because a lot of these players went to high school with each other and they split off and went different ways to Utah and BYU and with the rivalry and what it does and with neighbors, everything. Players love it. So I would love to see it come back. But who knows? Who knows if it will? Maybe they stick with the Pac-10 and run it back another decade or so.
I told Dave earlier in the show I want Brett Yormark, the Big 12 commissioner, to come on tomorrow and say, yep, we've picked off Washington, Oregon, Arizona State, and Utah. They're coming to the Big 12. We're going to be the Big 16 because those are the four schools I want.
Yeah.
I know that that's not going to happen, but that's what my wish is.
I would gladly take those teams. And you could build a really strong conference. I mean, I would be –
That conference, if you brought Washington, Oregon, Utah, and Arizona State with what currently exists in the Big 12, that conference could compete with the Big 10, I think.
My only thing would be you got to find some way to lock those schools in so they don't have bigger eyes trying to go pursue the next
grant of rights deal through 56. That's what
$100 million termination fee to get out. That's what you got.
That's what you do. So
live with Grizzly Adams tonight on the Wise Guys. Hey, we'll see you.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Enjoy it while you can. 2 weeks from today. 2 weeks from today.
Yeah.
After further review, we'll be back on the tube. And don't forget, everybody voted for the goatee.
No, they didn't.
Have a little guts. So
I added a late-minute clean shave. I think that's probably winning.
Yes.
Winning
so
hey,
I personally vote for that too. This gets too itchy. I'm not a big fan of it, so it's going to be.
I can't stand it.
Tell your wife she's doing a great job with the house. It's all decorated behind you.
It's beautiful.
The
bookcase behind you looks great.
I've told her I've got to sprinkle in some BYU stuff. I got my little Raiders brick over there. If you can see that one in the corner.
It's looking a little it looks a little too generic. I want some more homey stuff in there.
It's a little too artsy fartsy. So we got to sprinkle it up a little.
It's like Better Homes and Gardens kind of a thing right there.
That's what we do.
Hey, Nix, we'll see you in
Dave.
2 weeks.
See you, buddy.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
The great David Nixon, 2 weeks from tonight, back for I think our 10th season of After Further Review over on BYU TV. He's great, and he'll be on with us a lot. And what a luxury to have him with BYU TV and access to hear on this show. A couple of notes before we get into this day in history and we say goodnight. Kalani Sitake today named to the preseason watch list for the 2022 Dodd Trophy for Coach of the Year. He's one of 20 nominees. Last year, he was a finalist for the Eddie Robinson Coach of the Year. Should have won it. Well, what's not to love about 21-4 over the last 25 games, including 6-1?
They win 10 games. He'll win it. He'll win it this next year.
And then Clark Barrington in the news today.
Yeah. What? Oh, yeah. That's right. Clark. Where is it? He was named
Athlon Sports preseason All-America,
right.
third team.
I was looking to see which team
at
it
left
was.
guard. We got
and
a
this
lot
is
of
and
notes
this
here.
isn't the first preseason All-American team that Clark's been named to. So he's getting a lot of accolades before the season even starts. That offensive line is going to be something special.
Phil Steele had him in the first team. What third team tells me is he's the third best left guard in America.
In America.
That's pretty good.
That's not bad at all, right?
That is pretty good. All right, the 150th Open Championship starts Thursday at the Old Course at St. Andrews in Scotland. Tony Finau is paired with Hideki Matsuyama.
Yeah, that's my guy.
And Will Zalatoris at 3:20 a.m. Utah time. That's on Thursday. Tiger's going to start around 8 Utah time. Who do you got in that tournament?
I'm taking Rory McIlroy.
I'm going to go with Spieth, Jordan Spieth.
Going to Jordan,
He's been playing good.
Yeah, I'm going with Rory.
I hope Tiger wins.
When
I
was at the Masters a couple months ago, we were hanging around with Tony's dad and family, and Clepe, Tony's dad. Everybody on the tour calls him Pops, and Rory came under the ropes and said, "Hey, Pops," and gave him a hug. I didn't realize that Tony and Rory have been friends since they were kids.
Yeah.
Really, really cool. So all of a sudden, I have a big rooting interest in Rory, and he's playing really well right now. So I got Rory in that. And
hey, we remind Tony, you can't win it on the first day, but you can lose it.
Yes.
So let's just get through round one.
Well, and remember, I got an invite to the British this year, and I couldn't work it out in the schedule because I needed to be here with you guys.
This day in history, July 12th. Let's just go through 6 points. All very, very interesting.
I got to do the first one.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead?
Because this is more near and dear to me because I love the musical, but you don't care about it.
I haven't seen the musical.
Okay.
But I do care about American history.
You care about American history. In 1804, former U.S. Secretary of the Treasury Alexander Hamilton dies after being shot in a duel the previous day by Vice President Aaron Burr.
Was that in the musical?
Oh, yes, it absolutely is.
Why are two grown men out having a duel at the highest levels of American government, and one kills the other?
Well, and Alexander was trying to do the right thing and raise his gun into the air, and Burr freaked out and shot him.
Was it a cheap shot? Is that what you're saying? It was a cheap shot?
Like he shouldn't have shot him. So,
1933 on this day, Congress passed the first minimum wage law, 33 cents an hour. I bagged groceries at Albertsons in Orem for $3.35 an hour.
Wow.
And now it's like $15 an hour.
Wow. So, 1949, baseball owners agree to construct a warning track before the home run fence in the outfield.
Isn't that interesting? I wonder how many guys just
ran right into the wall.
I'm not standing on any dirt. I'm just going in.
We've had 37 concussions this year. We need to put a warning track out there.
1957 on this day, U.S. Surgeon General Leroy Burney connects smoking with lung cancer.
And that changed everything in the United States. Evidently, in Europe, nobody cares.
Can you imagine you used to be able to fly, not in our lifetime, fly on a plane where people smoked?
Yeah, I would sit in the row right in front of the smoking section, and I would say, how is this not the smoking section?
You are a little older than me. I've never been on one of those.
Oh, gosh, I've been on one. I was a kid, though.
All right.
1962, the Rolling Stones' first performance at the Marquee Club in London.
That's awesome.
Yep. Pretty
Next
awesome.
today. How about 1976 on this day? Family Feud debuts on ABC with Richard Dawson.
Do you know that my wife, Brenda, and her family were on Family Feud?
Did they win?
They didn't do so good. And Brenda's answer, so they said, name a sloppy food.
Like a sloppy Joe.
Wouldn't that be your number one answer?
That should be.
Brenda said salad.
What?
She said salad.
Was she like afraid of the cameras?
No, she got like, and she's like, no, you know, like
got
salad when it has dressing and it drips off. And Richard Dawson's like, no. But she did tell me she kissed Richard Dawson on the lips.
He kissed everybody.
On the lips. Come on, Richard.
That's how he did it.
So
really, she went with salad.
She went with salad.
Come on, Brenda.
Okay.
Okay, you finish up your
1990
theater guy.
Les Miserables opens at the National Theater in Washington, D.C. It goes on to be one of the greatest musicals in history. Great run on Broadway and in the West End in London.
32 years ago today. Huh?
Unbelievable. One of the great stories of the French Revolution.
Birthdays today, Henry David Thoreau in 1817. Bill Cosby in 1937. You remember Richard Simmons?
Richard Simmons, yes.
1948. The world has never been the same.
Number one song on July 12th, 1965, I Can't Get No Satisfaction. I can't get no satisfaction.
How about the number one movie on this day in 1986? Karate Kid 2, just edging past Top Gun.
Was Karate Kid 2 wax on, wax off?
I thought that was one.
Wax on? Wait, wax
Who did he
on?
fight? He
Wax
fought
off?
somebody else in Karate Kid 2.
I can't do it. Was Sweep the Leg in Karate Kid 2? I don't know which one was which. They're all great.
I think Sweep the Leg was in the first one.
Sweep the Leg was in the first one, too? Gosh.
All right. You want to take us out with
Sure,
Lavelle?
Lavelle Edwards. We always have a quote every week from Lavelle. I could sum it up in one thing. A guy has to be what he is. He's got to coach and have a philosophy based on his own personality. You see too many coaches trying to imitate other coaches, trying to be somebody else. It's all right to emulate the qualities of good coaches, but I don't think you should imitate. You've got to be yourself.
How's Kalani done at that?
He's good. Yeah. Kalani's himself. I would say Lavelle is a great example to him, and he follows a lot of the traditions and things that Lavelle did. But Kalani's taken a piece of a lot of guys, and he's himself. That's why he's doing such a great job.
Great quote by the great Lavelle Edwards.
Just be yourself.
Next week, the 17th governor of the state of Utah, Gary Herbert. And here's what I guarantee. We're going to hear some stories about how the Orem Golden Tigers were robbed of 2 state championships and how special teams did them in.
So Gary
both seasons.
Gary and I were talking. Governor Herbert and I were talking. Do we still call him Governor Herbert?
Yeah, we still call him Governor.
Okay, so Governor Herbert and I were talking, and he says, "What are we going to talk about on the show?" And then I said, "You know what?" I said, "Sports has been such a big part of your life. It's a big part of Dave and in my life, but isn't it really a big part of the fabric of the community that we live in, the state of Utah, our communities?" And he goes, "I love that. Let's talk about that."
We'll talk about it.
So that's what we're going to talk about.
Because it's the week of Pioneer Day in the state of Utah. And also David Phillips, the coordinating sports producer at BYU TV, we'll hit him up on, hey, what do you think the future is with BYU TV and the Big 12? And the Big 12 meetings will be behind us. They start tomorrow and Thursday, and so we'll talk about
They got some big plans on some of the shows that we're doing. Do you think he'll release that? Tell people about some of the new things we're doing?
I'd like to think so.
Let's convince him.
Like countdown to kickoff?
Yeah,
going
let's
2
talk
hours,
about that.
all
Let's talk about that.
Max Hall's with us July 26th. Mark Wilson, August 2nd. Dennis Pitta, August 9th. Marie Osmond and Robbie Bosco with us August 16th. Major Clark Haymond, fighter pilot, Hill Air Force Base, and Caleb Chapman with his saxophone. They're both with us August 23rd as we march closer to kickoff here on the Wise Guys. The podcast will be up tomorrow. Share it with your friends and tell everybody the growth of this show is awesome. And we know that the audience is there. It's just a matter of getting the word out to everybody. And, again, we're going to build the biggest community of BYU fans in the entire world right here on Tuesday nights on the Wise Guys.
Tell your friends, bring them back with you next week.
Hey, take your life cereal.
I'm taking my life
cereal.
Don't
even think about taking that Captain Crunch.
Nope, that's yours.
Special thanks to Scott Warner and David Nixon with us tonight. Blaine Fowler, Dave McCann, our crew over here. Thank you so much. Have a great week. We're back next Tuesday for the Wise Guys.
See you next week.